Don't worry, you won't remember a thing.
Come back to our mind. Something you once knew. You don't remember.
You can't remember anything?
No.
Did you forget?
This world is not real.
We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep.
The radio have brought us closer together.
Reaching millions throughout the world. To those who can hear me, I say.
What?
Forget about it.
Don't you remember?
Got it memorized.
What is wrong with you? I can't remember this shit.
You don't remember. Why am I not surprised?
Don't take it personally. I don't remember what I had for breakfast.
Gluten-free waffles, sir.
That's right.
I don't remember a goddamn thing.
The body cannot live without
Why do I always forget my words when I speak?
Drop down.
Remember the time. Keep it in mind.
Doc, none of us could remember anything.
Do you remember?
Just remember. Write it down.
Nobody likes you.
Remember this day. Keep it in mind. Come on, you want a pen. Write this down. Write the price down. Write it down. Come on. Concentrate.
What the fuck are you doing, sir?
It's been a while. I'm doing good. Doing really, actually pretty well, even though considering, you know, we've been off for what, 2 months? 2 months now? Just about.
Nice little vacay.
A little bit.
Yeah, slider.
A little tiny bit. I've been away. Been actually in a tiny town in Nebraska being with my girlfriend. Because, you know, it's that whole thing of I ain't got no excuse now. And guys, you know what I'm talking about too. Not that I don't love her, I do love her, but it's that thing of I got no excuse now. She's like, well, why don't you come down here?
You can't run. You can't hide. I see you.
I know where you live. But the whole reason was just to get a roof done down there. Yes. Oh my God, I was out of where I usually live. I was fucking traveling and I didn't get the coronavirus, people. Don't worry about it. I promise you. Where I was at, coronavirus is the furthest thing away from that place that, you know, has its concern. There are probably much other bigger things that are concerned in this tiny little town. Promise you. But
Welcome to the show. Won't remember a thing. The show where we are stuck in a time capsule today, and today is May 25th, 2020. I'm Gene, and that's BJ over there.
Yes, I am. And this is month, 2.5 of what is now considered the quarantine, which everybody has had been a part of. Whether you like it or not, and if you have been working, I am very sorry. We are in such a strange time.
Everyone could use some R&R.
Oh, we're doing the R&R right now.
I'm so used to passing. I almost passed this.
Oh, Dad, don't worry. That's why I have your own personal one. You don't need to. So, but this is a crazy time. A super crazy time. Like, I'm pretty sure we talked about this when it all started. You know, things and stuff, or events, yes. Having people there with no crowds.
Yes.
And only a few things has it actually worked on. WWE? No. It has. I don't know. It just never has not stuck. It still hasn't. I don't know. It's just weird. Although, talking about it now, WWE now has their very first ever British champion, world champion of all time. His name is Drew McIntyre, which is quite an accomplishment.
Get up, Drew. Take a bow.
Take a motherfucking bow, which I find kind of weird because, yes, he is part of England, but technically he's part of Ireland. So, but it's still, you know, oh, he's from the UK kind of thing, so it still counts, I guess. UK ain't bitching, let's put it that way. They're just like, yeah, he's from Ireland, from that country we took up there. Yeah! But in all jokes aside, though, congratulations to him. The only reason why this is like a redemption story for him, and pro wrestling fans will know this, when he first came into the WWE, he was dubbed by Mr. McMahon as the Chosen One. And that's not a joke either. He was literally brought out in front of the world of people. He wasn't even ready to be a star. And Vince McMahon goes, "He is the chosen one. He will be a world champion." You know what happened to him at the end of his tenure the first time?
He lost.
Well, he lost a lot of considerable muscle, and he was part of a gimmick called the three-man band, which was a bunch of fucking low jobbers to just go out there and pretend like they're in a fucking rock band. It was funny, but no, it was terrible. It was awful. And then, he got fired. But then 3 years later, he came back and won the world title. Hey, impressive too. Good on him. Speaking of arena shows and stuff like that, the only sport in my mind that it actually has helped not having a crowd, because Japanese baseball doesn't count. And yes, that is being broadcasted in Japan right now and being played on ESPN, because that is the only kind of form of baseball entertainment that you can find in the world right now, is Japanese baseball.
Really?
Yes. Either that or fucking hacky sack. Or no, cornhole. My bad. Cornhole.
Oh, okay.
Cornhole. I mean, I'm sure they could put hacky sack on there too. I mean, for fuck's sake, have you seen ESPN's top 10 best plays of the week?
Right.
It's people doing shit in their houses.
Well, cornhole is just hacky sack with a goal.
You know you can get a college scholarship for that, right?
Yeah, I knew that.
In southern states.
Like lacrosse or something,
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm pretty sure the only schools that give it a scholarship are in the South. It's like Alabama, South Carolina. You don't see any Midwest fucking universities no. We have cornhole.
You're pooping on bunghole.
My girlfriend saw that on ESPN one time when we were at a hotel, and she was actually questioning it. She's like, "Is this real? Are they really showing this on ESPN, people playing cornhole?" I'm like, yes. Yes, they are. And she's like, "Are they in college?" I'm like, yes, they are. And good on them, because I think it was like a $10,000 prize to like your school scholarship or whatever the fuck. But is this what it's come to? Where wrestling gets taken out of the Olympics, but cornhole gets put on TV? What kind of world do we live in? And mind you, yes, I'm the dude who likes pro wrestling too. But they took actual wrestling out of the motherfucking Olympics and put curling in. Ralphie May in 2000 beat at the time, the U.S. curling team. Ralphie May at that time never curled a motherfucking day in his life. That should tell you that is not a real sport. It is dads who watch hockey that can't go and play hockey, so they go and do this.
Yeah.
Which is sad. But the one sport that has benefited has been the UFC. There's been at least, I think, 5 UFC events since the pandemic, which kudos on them. They're trying to make entertainment. You can actually hear the punches, like just being, as soon as they throw a punch to the body, wherever it is, you can hear it. I think it's the only sport that has helped it. It honestly has. I don't think any other sport can say that during this time. Because you need a crowd. I can't.
I've gotten accustomed to it. Like, I'm so used to this. Like, cause like this whole the country reopening. It just doesn't feel like we've earned that yet.
It was only 2.5 months ago. That's the fucking crazy thing. This has seemed like it has been lasting for what, 6 months?
Right.
That's what it feels like. It's only been 2.5 months.
Yeah.
2.5 fucking months. Like, we always complain that time is going by too fast. Nobody can fucking complain about that now. I'm telling you. I feel like we should be in, like, October right now, and we're not.
Like, we were talking about winter coming.
Dude.
It feels like it's
right around the corner.
Right around the fucking corner.
And they're trying to open up everything, and shit is probably gonna get shut the fuck back down as soon as it gets cold again. Because everybody's like, oh, the hysteria is because it accelerates when it's cold. Yeah. Well, if that's the fucking case, everything's gonna get shut down when it gets cold again. I promise you, mark these fucking words. Everything will get shut down again. Like it is now, even though they're starting to open shit up again, and I think at this time it was Florida and Missouri are the 2 states that are completely open, or at least getting somewhere there. Nah, the shit's gonna shut down as soon as like fucking Thanksgiving rolls around. Literally, the first holiday that has a bunch of people minus Halloween, because I'm pretty sure that'll get canceled fucking too. But one of the very first holidays that, bring people together. Nope. Shut it all down. Stay quarantined again. Nope. And it's not even to make fun of the pandemic either. I have been on unemployment for the past fucking 2.5 months. I just was able to get my money and pay my fucking bills, people. So understand this. I make fun of this because at the same time, as serious as it is, there's a lot of fucking stupid shit that is going on and a lot of information that deludes the truth.
You gotta create some levity.
You have to. If you can't laugh at shit that's going on, you're just gonna be depressed as fuck, and then you're just gonna be like, I don't got any motivation to do shit. Blah, blah, blah. It's like you get into that place of, if you just let it affect you, like, everything's all shitty and blah, blah, blah. Trust me, yes, everything's shitty. It was shitty to begin with before this happened. It didn't just pop up because the pandemic happened. The pandemic is just showing that our lives weren't that fucking great to begin with before this happened. No matter where you're at, if you were at the point of, like, let's say, I don't know, 50,000 and below, 60,000 below, which is pretty average for most, I would say, people our age or close to it.
Yeah. America.
We are benefiting from this more from being unemployment than we are working. And like I said, it's not to take away from this pandemic. There are people who have been sick and, and all this other shit. And honestly, the more I keep hearing of, like, people are like, oh, well, it hasn't really been as bad as they say it is, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, a few little cases that I've heard, and yes, maybe they're small and few in between, but when you sit and think about, this is what would be the cause of why they died, and it would be considered coronavirus related. Michael Yo, he's already been on Joe Rogan's podcast and talked about this. Do you know what he would have died of if, like, he had died when he was on, when he was really bad? And mind you, Michael Yo was about to die in the hospital when he had it. So, like, it's not taken away that he could have died.
Yeah.
But the cause would have been migraines. Are you fucking kidding me? Migraines because he had the coronavirus. Like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And again, not to say that it doesn't affect people. It's been affecting everybody, whether you're healthy or not. But they still don't understand why it'll do that to a literal healthy fucking person.
I think maybe it's because he's so healthy that maybe his immune system was low.
I think he did play with that idea that, like, his body was so healthy and he had never really gotten sick, that it wasn't like that. Yes, he was in good shape, but like you said, his immune system wasn't all the greatest to actually fight off a bad virus like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My problem is that, I guess what I mean by, like, we didn't earn it is, like, it's still spreading.
Oh yeah, no, it's still spreading. Yeah.
Just the slightest, just a little smidgen of a sign of some progress, and then they just want to get right back to whipping that pony.
Well, it's like, they want this economy cannot work when it's at a standstill, and this is pretty much what it's at. Yeah. Granted, some businesses are up and running and still going, but not all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, like, fuck, the food delivery business is fucking booming, but I don't think the country can literally survive off of that for the next fucking 2 years as their economy, you know what I mean? Like, that won't work. It can't work. Like, that, it's not our whole capitalism that we're built on, just that can't work like that.
It's been compromised.
It has been compromised.
And that's what they want to just brush under the rug like it never happened. And it's like, no, we see that this shit is, like, it's getting there. We're about to hit that crescendo.
We are.
And the system that we've been so accustomed to for however many ages is gonna,
and haven't questioned at all, or at least have questioned but has never had the voice of been like, what the fuck is really going on?
You know what? Have you
What's on your mind, Gene? What haven't I fucking looked up? Huh? What hasn't come across my eye on the internet?
You know what? I can't even tell you this without even, you know what, here.
Just dive into it. You might as well.
I have a confession.
What is that?
God,
it sounds like you kicked a puppy or something. What's wrong?
I had a lucid dream.
Ooh.
Yes. Yes.
Please tell.
Yes.
Tell everybody too, because
Please.
I love
me.
this shit.
I don't know what it was, but like
What caused it? What triggered it?
yeah, I just know that I had to write whatever I could down, so I'm just gonna base it off of this and like try to fill in stuff if I can. But yeah, so it was on the 23rd, so
Oh,
2
okay.
days ago. All right, here it goes. After years of seeing a mix of blurs and darkness, I finally had a lucid dream, like I was a young child again. At first, I was lost in this dream. It had the tone and sense of a cat and mouse chase.
Like Tom and Jerry?
Sure, like there's
Or the smaller kids out there.
yeah. Think cops and robbers, children.
Batman. Sorry.
My companion was the mouse. Cats were in suits and ties that had gotten their wardrobe out of the Adjustment Bureau's closet. And these gentlemen had been pursuing my companion for reasons my wake self couldn't understand, yet my dream self didn't question one bit. However, we don't meet the cats till later, so I'll try to start from the beginning.
All right. And then I have a couple lucid dreams actually. I have told you about them, but I have not spoken about them on the podcast. I don't believe.
Dude, I know when someone tells me a dream that they had, I'm like, you were lucid dreaming, and they don't even realize they were lucid dreaming. It's like,
I already
haven't
know
had
I
that
did.
since I was like, I don't even know, like 8. I don't know. I can't remember the last time I had that.
I have a
was so
couple
young.
actually. I have a few actually that are pretty. Now that I think about it, I'm like, I was tripping some balls and I did not realize it. But go on.
But
anyways.
yeah. Where was that? From what I can remember, her and I bump into each other on the street. We greet as if we've been
so
trying.
the mouse is a her.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm just adding to the story so everybody can follow along.
My companion in this dream, she looks like my fiance.
Oh.
But she's not her. She doesn't share the same name, but she looks like her. We greet as if we've been trying to reach one another for weeks, and I could almost feel all of the failed rendezvouses. Hugs trembling with excitement. Reuniting was the hard part. Now the plan can finally move ahead. Now there's a time jump. We appear to be staying in a hotel room. I'm calmly pacing, like it was just something to do. We know these people are after her, but no panic whatsoever. I'm pacing out of sheer stir craziness, while she stands in one place and gives me a full lecture on her science findings. See, she was a scientist of some sort that discovered a formula of quite value.
It sounds like a fucking book, dude. You know what I mean? This sounds like the fucking monologue to like the beginning of a fucking really, really thick, long fucking book.
I had to
that
write
I want to
it.
read.
See, I wanted to be able to recapture that feeling. I wanted to be able to read it and have it take it back.
No, I
have it
feel
take me
you.
Back there.
But I'm pretty sure everybody that's listening to this is like, Jesus, is this a fucking book he's writing? Or like, what the fuck is going on here? Sorry, keep going. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Throw me off my track. Wait, let me go back. Let me just go back.
See, I'm the asshole who speaks during the movie I've already watched, so I can add commentary. So,
no, I want your opinion on this. This is why I'm sharing this with you. Fuck whoever's listening.
I know. I'm just.
Fuck, no one's listening for all I fucking care. I'm telling you. All right, brethren. All right. We know these people are after her, but no panic whatsoever. I'm pacing out of sheer stir craziness while she stands in one place and gives me a full lecture on her science findings. See, she was a scientist of some sort that discovered a formula of quite value. I, my dream self, not only knows that about her, but is also well equipped with the minutia of said formula. Therefore, lecture equals pacing. So when the lack of new info became unbearable, I would go roam the halls, to find that we were staying in a fancy, futuristic, Las Vegas-like hotel/indoor amusement park.
You know, that was the fun side of your brain being like, let's jazz up this dream a
let's
little
have
bit.
fun. Like, what is she even talking about? You
This
already
shit's
know
really
this.
fucking gloomy. Let's put you in fucking Las Vegas.
Right. Even when my companion and I reunited on the streets, it had a 22nd century feel. These halls really put all of that in perspective. The fashion, the demeanors/language, the aliens. And I'm just walking aimlessly in a circle. But the gravity levels made it feel vertical. Vertical traversal, like walking on top of the outlines of a circle, making it a sphere, having to go uphill without it feeling strenuous. It was as strenuous as going downhill, but with zero incline. Just straight forward. No running till you hit a wall, then make a turn. Just straight up or down, depending on how you looked at it. Felt like walking on a globe or a ball of some kind, over and over and over. And I'm just relishing in the eccentrics of it all. These imaginative characters with appearances that say so much about them, and beyond them are loud, almost intimidating, but fun attractions/rides and shows. I never want to leave this place. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell her we shouldn't leave. Yeah, I just passed our room for what felt like the 30th time. Just got to turn back about 4 doors or so. I walk in. She's still standing where I left her, against the west wall of the room. I take one step. I tell her about all the wonderful things I stumbled upon. I ask her if she knew this place was this much fun. I'm still by the door. And she stares at me, without even moving her head to face me. A stare that says, "You interrupted me, but I'll wait till you're finished." There's a beat of silence. Then she opens her mouth, wide. After a huge breath, she continues with her lecture. I say, "If you need me, I'm gonna be at the opera." My dream self is sick of going over the same spiel with her. He could literally finish her sentences if he wanted to. But hey, the opera awaits.
This is like some labyrinth shit. That's what I heard when it's like, the gravity makes me go up, down, but it feels natural. It's got a fucking labyrinth feel to it. Now I'm just imagining David Bowie popping up in front of you, right in front of the labyrinth, and then disappearing into the fucking mist.
Dude, I love it. That's, yeah.
It's
like you were there. It's as if you were there.
The whole time I was thinking, I'm like, man, this is the fucking labyrinth. It's just a different one. It's a futuristic one with aliens, apparently. Jesus fuck. Were they the gray ones? Were they like Paul? Or were they like giant green ones, like the stereotypical, like, oh, look at me?
I'll get there. Okay? Because then that'll lead me to what I was originally going to say.
But I will say this. If aliens exist, I really hope they're based off of Paul. Because that'd be fucking hilarious. If you have never seen Paul, people, it's got Seth Rogen in it as Paul. It's fucking funny. It's hilarious. It makes fun of Area 51 and all that jazz. It's a classic film, at least in my eyes, of like...
Oh, yeah, it's great.
You know, and it's got the Shaun of the Dead guys from it in it too. Always a fucking laugh. Love those fuckers. Yeah. Anyways, continue with your lucid dream. This fucking novel that you have these people listening to, I swear, because mine, when I'm going to tell it, it's going to sound nothing like this. It's going to be more of like, oh yeah, this is if you had a frantic 15-year-old that's like going through a haunted house and you have to describe what he saw as he's running through it screaming. That's what you're going to get with this one. So at least Gene's going to presenting his in more of a novel-like form. Mine's going to be like all over the fucking place.
And mind you, I did not write this thinking I would share it with somebody. This was strictly for me when I wrote this.
Right.
This was just to remind me what the dream
This was the like. Monologue in your head that you were hearing.
Yeah, this was the narrative. Yeah. All right, so where was the opera awaits. Okay. These halls of this grand nameless hotel are infectious. Green doors, blue carpet with an onyx black trimming, golden walls with bright white light fixtures, uncrowded crowds of colorful beings, walking down these homey bed and breakfast structured walls, which then curve into more of an operatic piece of architecture that would then welcome you to an attraction, i.e. the opera, which happens to be right across my room. I know that. And I can't help but walk these halls. I must walk these halls. She nourishes me in this what should be stressful time. I just wanted this. When I said I'd be in the opera, I lied. I don't want to see the opera. Oh look, there's the room. I'm about to pass it again. Which means here's the... Alright, fuck it, let's see the opera. Time spans. I bend to sit down in my seat on the left side of a pretty decent center row. The theater has a Greek Colosseum touch to it, with heavy red and yellow lighting. Red was most prominent, red was primary, while yellow played second banana. Imagine a warm red as darkness in the room, having yellow as dim bulbs and a spotlight for the stage. The stage seems to be made of a blue glass, with fog that has a dark greenish blue tint. A woman dressed in Viking garb travels from stage right to center stage. Spotlight rains down to her feet. She steps in, raises her left hand slowly, as she bears a slight nod in honor of those of us in attendance. She casts her hand all the way up and belts out this sad, angelic vocal chord. It sends a shockwave through the audience. She holds it for what had to be 2 minutes. Then she drops it and picks it right back up, effortlessly, seamlessly. She wouldn't stop when you expect. Wait, this woman isn't breathing. She's telling a story. I see it now. You have to listen. It's where she stops and starts again. That's the start of the next chapter. Her voice provides me visions of a woman's story dealing with the pain that only love can cause. So much so, she even dies for it at the end. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I never want to leave this place. Time spans once more. I don't see how I get from my seat to back in the hallway, but here I am, right out front of the Opera House's entrance. Do I stroll down these warm, inviting halls for old time's sake? I don't know. I sat through a whole damn opera. Might as well check on her. She's being chased after all. Though, it's easy to forget that with this lack of tension in the air. I walk across and go into the hotel room. And wouldn't you guess it, she's still planted in the same position. I let her speak. She insists on recapping. I swear, I could literally finish your sentences, lady. You know what? I'll prove it. I waited for her to speak her next point. Then right before she could wrap up, I rushed in midway to spare her. She stares. That same stare. She moves on to her next point. I allowed her to get the first word out. I fill in the rest. She stares and says, "That's correct." This went on for another 5 or 6 times. She tried to speak, I cut her off, and I'd either get the stare or the stare with a, "That's correct." What's wrong with me? Am I going crazy? Wait a second. I know what you're about to say. I know. Things are beginning to click. I start looking down at my hands, and there lied the combination that had set me free. 1, recognizing a pattern in a dream for what it is, a pattern. And 2, look at your hands and try deciding how they should move and feel. I could actually see me breaking out of the shell, in astral form, leaving my dream self's body. I was way past the point of realizing this is simply a dream. I take a moment, savoring the accomplishment of it. Usually I would have woken up by the smallest sign of the illusion breaking. And I always told myself, if I ever got this chance, I'd do one thing. Fly.
Okay, well, let me tell you this right now. Everything actually was pretty good.
I'm not...
And not even... Like, I'm not...
it's not done.
Oh, I know it's not done.
Oh, okay.
I know
so
it's not done.
We haven't even met the cats. So.
No, I... But the feel that I got from it, and if people shit on the movie a little bit, but Shutter Island, it kind of has that feel to it, where because I mean, not in the way of like
I see
because
exactly
he has done the same
obsessed.
thing repeatedly, and he does the same thing over and over and over
OCD,
again.
yeah.
And especially with your thing, it makes it feel like time's not moving. Like you're like you said, you experienced the opera for what did you say, an hour? I think just about something to that extent. Whatever you saw an opera.
I didn't say how long the opera was, but it did feel like a full show. It felt like at least like 45.
I just
to an hour.
probably made up an hour in my fucking head, anyways. But you saw an opera and then
That's
you go
good,
back.
though.
Yeah, and then you go back and then it's the same thing. It's got that, like I said, that weird Shutter Island feel. There's something else like god damn it, I'm trying to think of the movie. God damn it, what's the one weird movie where like he like goes into space, but then he like breaks the physics barrier and he finds out like
Interstellar.
There you go, like that. It's kind of like a weird combination of like Shutter Island and that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because like you keep walking down this hallway and it seems endless, but then it's like, oh yeah, look, there's that.
No, this is great, dude. This is what I want. I'm not the type of person who shares their dreams. Like whenever someone feels the need to share a dream with me, I listen because like they feel the need to share it. But I've never been like that. So
Keep
this
going.
is great. Tell me what you think. Like,
and I'm gonna say this on the podcast now. This is fucking hilarious. But I'll talk to you later, Dad. Hold on, I gotta talk to some lucid dreams first.
All right, so fly. Come on, time to see what this baby can do. I put both fists in front of me, and it worked like a charm. Partner's still going through the motions with her dialogue. Meanwhile, I'm elegantly flying past her head. I make a complete 360 and I land right back to where I stood. Female name here, look, I can fly. She couldn't hear me over her rambling. Female name, look! I fly around her again. I couldn't fly without both fists in front of me. They together acted as a pedal, giving acceleration. I don't know what it was, but it just felt right. I stop and I land right in front of her. She noticed this time. She stares. Longer. What does that mean? Name, it means I... Boom! Doors busted open with the Adjustment Bureau, spewing out of it. Our cats have arrived with impeccable timing. There's definite tension. I was under the impression that they knew I had evolved. Alas, I slip her onto my back, extend both fists forward, and make a beeline for the door. And to my surprise and theirs, they had no idea what they were walking into. They cleared away from the shock of it. Clenching their hats down, I gracefully blow past them, gracefully cut through the tension. You gotta see this place, I tell her. Surely we can squeeze in a tour. Here's the opera, the tower drop ride, movie theater, restaurant, fun house, haunted house. I look behind me, and the cats aren't far off. We've reached the end of the tour. Time to lose the goons. Oh, look, the gallery. That'll do. In we go. Excuse me, pardon me. Art lovers present themselves as obstacles, almost just for show. This is my dream. Never could one interfere. I was floating with the ease of a guided missile, till I found the right painting. It's in my sights. It's closing in. I close my eyes, preparing for impact, but there was none. I peek, and voila, exactly as painted. A field of lush green grass. Over the green yonder lies a boulder, about 5 feet tall, flat on top, and as wide as your average backyard swimming pool. I land and stand right in front of it. She gets off my back. I turn around, and right before you get to the boulder, there's an overpass above. A bridge, or a freeway maybe. She scurries to hide under it. I'm studying my environment now, to see what I have to work with. I bask in the view. For a brief sec, I stop thinking about the cool cats. I admire the field, the grass blades dancing vibrantly, accepting their sun god's gifts graciously, for that to then lead you to the overpass, where shade sheds a cooler breeze. Then at the end of it all is this little strip of light with a dignified boulder, all of which were advertised in the painting. Field, overpass, boulder. And to actually be there was something different entirely. I couldn't help but appreciate it for a quick breath. Then these guys continue to prove that pure joy is what summons them. One plops out of the portal, then so on and so on. There's got to be at least 30, if not 40 of them. Think, fast, come on. You need both fists forward in order to fly. You don't know how to fight while flying, you've never done it before. And even if you could, you're outnumbered. These gangsters could have weapons. That's it. I need a weapon. Wait, okay. What weapons could I use while flying? Because ain't no way I'm giving up flying. They're halfway through the field. Some seem to be reaching in their jackets. Then it hit me. The perfect weapon. An Iron Man suit. I made it appear. I knew where it was. I just had to get to it. I put it behind cover. It was next to the farthest leg of the overpass to my right, where she was hiding. I fly towards, and sure enough, just around the corner, blending in with the shade if it weren't for the blue light of energy glowing from its chest and then its eyes as I approached it. I turned my back to it and landed, and at an instant, the very moment my toes met the ground, it engulfs me. In the blink of an eye, not like nanotech, no, it opened itself, thrusted forward, caught me, then shut. I'm now flying at the same head-eye level, except much faster, zipping and sliding around and through these chumps, striking cool poses, blasting them, punching them at a ridiculous speed. It was over before any of them had a chance.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right
I
there.
yell out to her that the coast is clear. She runs out as I think to myself, I can't wait to tell my fiance about this dream. Name comes up to me, she grins and says, Now. Now I'll never know what the end of that sentence was, because the thrill of everything had finally gotten to me and woke me up. Well, then again, I'll bet I could have finished that sentence for her.
Okay, well, I'm sure they're gonna hear it. I was laughing quite a bit, and not because of the story, but just because what was running through my brain while listening to the story. Your shit literally turned to Shutter Island and Interstellar to then proceed to start going into...
What a twist!
What a twist! It starts going into... let's start going into the Matrix with a mix of cats. And then let's start making him do shit like Tron for some reason.
No,
and
they
fly
weren't.
around like Harry Potter without a car.
They weren't literally cats.
I know they weren't literally cats,
okay.
but
Yeah.
that's what pops into my brain is Cats the movie. And proceed to go into a dimension that is, for some reason, it's like a link between worlds and fucking that video game, if anybody plays that, where you go and do paintings and you go through like different portals to go to a dark world to then see like that world's god.
But anyway, I had to tell that story because I wanted to.
Shit.
We were talking about this, how 2020 is just been a crazy ride. And
as soon as it started, too.
We're still in it, right?
Oh yeah, it's not even halfway through. That's the crazy thing. We are like approaching halfway through the year already, and a good portion of that has been in a pandemic, in quarantine. And this is what happens. when you get put into quarantine and your brain gets to not have to worry about the mundane thing of doing the same task over and over again every single day, as much as we have to go to work and have a life and shit.
Yeah.
Once your brain actually relaxes and actually is able to let the synapses fire in a different fucking direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that could be a whole fucking movie and or book You could make like a tiny little
But
series
I wasn't
about
in
that.
quarantine when I did that. I was back at work when I had that dream. That was 2 days ago.
Because there's probably like a surreal thing to be like, I'm still in a pandemic and I have to work. But you know what I mean? Like that is a trippy.
Yeah, but the aliens though, you brought up the aliens.
Yes, yes. What are the aliens?
So I told my fiance the dream, and she had the same question, and I don't know, I couldn't really describe it. Like I was just like, it was like this. There was like they were all different colors. There was like red, blue, green.
So they all
whatever,
were different, like
but
balls of light.
But there was different shades of colors.
Were they just
so
color?
like one red wouldn't be the same as the other.
But were they of like a light nature, or was it just strictly just straight color? Like it wasn't like they were illuminating in any kind of way.
It was their skin.
Just...
It was skin.
Okay, so just physical. They're just
skin
different color.
Yeah, like there was like this one blue dude I kept seeing.
So kind of how like when we had Nick on and he was talking about how different characters would be like, you know, a magenta or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Kind of like that in a weird kind of way.
I actually thought about that conversation.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. At least we're on the same page.
I woke up. Yeah. But yeah, no. So there was this one blue dude that I saw the most out of all of them, and he kind of looked like he was filled up with water, like the way he would move. He had like this walk about him where he.
So like a Squidward walk almost.
Yeah. See, I said Squidward to her, and I didn't like that comparison. But
right.
Yeah,
but
like Squidward, just
thing.
minus he has 2 legs and 2 arms, but like they weren't like tentacles, but they didn't.
It was like, was they like made of like?
I mean, they were hand-shaped tentacles. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
Was he like water and also like pure energy? Like that's the way he looked, kind of.
No. That's what I meant by when I started with saying like all I've been used to is seeing like blurs and darkness. Yeah. That's what those blurs were. It just looked like energy. Like it never looked like solids. So like that's why I'm like, oh shit, like that's why I got to a point where like, wait a minute, I'm sitting at an opera and like that's why I kept walking through the halls, because that was me.
That gave me a real
that was me waking up. That was me realizing, whoa, this is cool. Like I like this. Like
that reminded me of like the Shining feel. That's what that reminded me of when you're going through the hallways like that. That's definitely what that's the feel I got. Except it wasn't scary. It was just
happy.
Yeah, it wasn't despair and.
It was the coolest shit.
That's weird.
It was the fucking future, dude.
It was the fucking future, dude.
No, but like I described it to her, and she brings up an image off of Google. And it's exactly what the fuck I saw. And
what was the picture? Like, was it from specifically anything, or did somebody like fan art draw it in some weird way?
I couldn't tell you. She probably could. But what I can tell you is that they're called Arcturians.
Arcturians.
Yes, and I can show you.
Sounds like a fucking alien race when you say it like that.
I'll even pull it up in the video. They've been up, I'm sure, before I
Right, they're up there right now, and they're just like, what are you fucking talking about?
Yeah, so these.
Just put a little note to say they're up.
This is what I saw, roughly. His head was bigger. He was wearing like kind of futuristic urban clothes. Like this dude was like. He was just chill. He was like laid back, like stoner almost, and like
it's a beautiful.
His head
version.
was like that, but a little bit bigger, and he was like at least 8 feet, and
Jesus,
and he had like what looked like I guess that's it, but it looked like headphones. It didn't look like a headband, but maybe
was it like more modern looking? It looked like he was like
it was all moving so fast, so I don't know,
because what you're describing
the hallway
to me
is pretty much the size of your living room, right?
Right.
It's pretty much so. Like he'd be on this side, I'm on the other side. We just be and I just pass him every night. Like I said, I pass the room like however many times. I pass him however many times.
From what it looks like to me, and now I mean this is just my brain. I don't try to be funny, but it's like we brought it up when we were talking to Nick. It's like the beautiful version of the butt ugly Martians, and they just grew really fucking tall. That's how I imagine them. And that's how I can describe it to the people. And we'll have the comparison photo. Butt ugly Martians, these things. That's what it looks like to me. And to be fair, how do we know they don't look like that? How do we know there isn't some version of life out there that does maybe simulate that? How do we know it?
We do. They visit us in our dreams.
And so I think that's a question that a lot, some people do ask. There's a really cool comedian out there that's friends with Duncan Trussell, which we will talk about him and things he's doing in a little bit.
Yeah.
But he really likes to like dive into like why we think about shit in life and stuff. And this is a good example of that. Like when people draw what they see with aliens, how could like when some people like try to dispute it, it's like, well, how did they draw that with never seeing it before?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they couldn't just come up with that out of fucking nowhere. Some of them. Now I've seen a few of them, and I'm just like, okay, you got that from like generic gray area alien giant fucking head kind of looking thing. You know what I mean? You can tell when somebody's just like, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
But some of those people who like, or even, I'll go to it, Bob Lazar. Him to draw the fucking spaceship that he says he worked on to a T to this day, and show where everything was at on it, where the navigation system was, where this and this and this was. It's like you can't just make that kind of shit up. It's really fucking hard to like have a story like that and keep the story, with no holes in it for so long, and you're not bullshitting them. It's just a story that's really hard to fucking believe. It's really hard to believe because nobody was there but you. It's all based off of truth. If somebody believes your word of mouth. And I mean, that's a lost thing nowadays. Like, because trying to tell somebody something by the word of mouth is almost like, I would say, obsolete. Almost, you know what I mean? Like, if there's no, if you have literal, I mean, granted, yes, if you have facts behind it,
it's scary now. It's a scary ass game of, it's the telephone game. It's a scary ass version of the telephone game. Like, it's gotten.
You can say one thing, but to the 20th person it gets to, it could be a completely different message than what the fuck you were talking about.
Yeah.
And funny enough, that's a classic game that we played as a kid, and I don't think
that's what. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, and I don't think we realize that that's how literal life is in just a tiny little game like that.
Yeah.
Like that's a controlled game that our parents taught us how to do it, but that's how life is in general. Like you can go tell somebody on the street something, they could go tell another person, and then 20 people down the line, something that you told them could literally be changed and morphed into something that had nothing to do with what you were talking about before, but because of word of mouth and because people perceive things differently, it changed into something completely different that's out there now.
That's what causes conflict.
All the fucking time.
Because people, they can't get a good enough read off of each other. They don't know where their heart lies. They don't know where their information,
because they can't make a decision on their own, sadly enough. It's all, a lot of people's decisions are based off, and don't get me wrong, I do go and try to listen to a bunch of different, or at least I try to listen to stuff that is at least it's down the middle to a point. Because if you have something that's on either fucking side, I don't care. You could be a straight Democrat and a straight Republican, but if you don't go and try to listen to something that's like down the middle, you know what I mean? Like you're not gonna get an even look side on it. You're gonna get the one side that you're used to, and yeah, of course you're gonna agree with it. But if you can't understand what the other person that you disagree with, how they look at things, you can't really make a point about anything about that person until you actually go and look at them, and that is the biggest problem when it comes to the government and just the things that go on with that in general. I mean, we said we weren't going to bring it up, and I don't want to make it a huge topic, but if I have posed this question before, and I've asked a couple people, we did look this up, and there's 3 presidents in the entire history of this country, as far as we could find, that outright won because of the people's vote. And Gene looked this up. I believe at least what I saw. If it's somehow not true, I mean, somebody can let us know. But there's only been 3. JFK was the first one, Bill Clinton was the second one, and Barack Obama was the third one. Now, you may look at that and be like, oh yeah, it has worked. The people's vote has outright voted for the president. Okay, let's also take a look at this. The first one was really fucking good. Assassinated 3 years in. Second dude, we got, I knew you'd be back. That was the second one. The third one was, and I don't like to go there, but a lot of it had to do because he was, not a lot, but a good,
Why was he popular, BJ? Why was that third one
You can
popular?
tell me, Gene. Why was he popular?
Was it because he wasn't born in America? That was a big fuss, right? Or something about his
No,
birth
no, he was
certificate?
born in Hawaii.
Oh,
his parents were from a
that's
different
not
country.
America, BJ.
It is America.
No, haven't you heard?
Apparently not, but we took it over from the fucking Hawaiian king that was there, so it's definitely our country now, because those Hawaiian people ain't getting it back anytime soon. But yeah, so those are the 3 presidents that won outright.
Might I add, 5 times has a candidate won the popular vote and lost the election. Andrew Jackson in 1824 to John Quincy Adams, Samuel Tilden in 1876 to Rutherford B. Hayes, Grover Cleveland in 1888 to Benjamin Harrison, Al Gore in 2000 to George W. Bush, Hillary Clinton in 2016 to Donald J. Trump.
Yep. And see, that's the thing. I have no problem if Hillary Clinton had literally won outright with the people's vote. Hey, that's what the people asked for. But I think the thing that doesn't get asked is, where is that line? What is the line of where the people vote? The people's vote literally wins. From what I can tell, and at least from that little bit that you showed me, it literally looks like it's 75% and over. And honestly, when the fuck is that really ever going to happen again? Yes, you can say, oh, Barack Obama. We just discussed why he fucking got that much. And, you know, you can dispute it all you want, but that is a point of it no matter what. Because he's literally the first one.
So
the first fucking one.
I tortured you with that dream to really get here. I wanted to share with you that I had to tell you the dream so I could get you to my fiance asking me about the aliens, and then her telling me about the Arcturians, which then led her to bring up, for whatever reason, the Pleiadians. And she played a video for me.
You're gonna have to tell me, because I'm an idiot, so you know.
So Pleiadians, BJ. Pleiadians. I'm glad you asked.
Like I said, I'm an idiot. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, "Oh yeah, I know I have no fucking clue what you're talking about," but I would love to know.
You do. You just didn't know their name.
Do I?
Yes, because they appear to look human, but
is this some like their lizard shit?
They're
the lizard people.
White, blonde, blue eyes.
Oh, is this Hitler's dominant race thing? Yes, this is the ultimate race, you know. Yeah, okay, I get what you mean. Yeah.
So
that's odd.
But
not a concept that hasn't been lost to time and been there for fucking ever.
So she brings up the Arcturians, and then I'm like, oh yeah, no shit, that's like pretty much what I saw. And then she shows me a video from of a message from Pleiadians. She went from Arcturians to Pleiadians. I don't know why, but apparently Pleiadians have a message for you, BJ.
What?
And
for me specifically.
They have a message for you too, who's ever listening.
Okay. I was like, Jesus, this is getting trippy now. Are they gonna say my name and shit in the middle of the video?
So
like,
why don't you perk your ears up?
Sit your ass down. When was this recorded? Does it say?
Ooh, it's a message for 2020 through 2021.
Okay.
So I'd imagine it's recent.
Pretty recent. All right. And I was gonna say, if this was made in like 1989 for 2020, I may have some questions. It's
on this woman, Bracha Goldsmith, channel. It's
on YouTube.
Bracha. Brasha.
This is on YouTube.
This is on YouTube. And the Pleiadians appeared to either talk through her, or she herself is Pleiadian. I don't know.
Or she does.
But she is providing. Yes, you'll see. She is providing us with the message from the Pleiadians.
Just intensely waiting to hear what this person has to say. This is gonna be fun.
All right, so pay attention.
I can only imagine.
Hi everybody, welcome. And now I shall bring in the Pleiadians to see what they would like to share with you about the year 2020. to 2021. Oh, we are delighted to be with you all again once more. It is a pleasure, and many things have changed upon your planet Earth, and you already feel this.
Just pause it
You
real
feel
quick,
the
though.
changes, the upheavals,
Hold
the
on.
massive.
Did you see it? I told you
Hold
you
on,
would.
hold on.
But did you?
Hold on. From what it already seems like,
Yeah.
either she's being talked through by a bunch of fucking people, or she's got multiple personality disorder. That is what I'm seeing right now. But I am very interested in what else she has to fucking.
Look, I'll tell you this much: whatever her condition entails, she means well.
I hope so. She kind of, and people you'll see this video as it's up, but she kind of's got that old grandma feel to her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you would sit down and listen to her because she's like, "Oh, grandma's got something to say," and then she starts saying this shit. So and I mean, granted, all she said is hello so far, and I'm already intrigued. So please keep going.
And then before you had my curiosity, now you have my attention.
Now it's perked. Now it's peaked.
All right, here we go.
I'm fascinated by this.
Hi everybody, welcome. And now I shall bring in the Pleiadians to see what they would like to share with you about the year 2020 to 2021. Oh, we are delighted to be with you all again once more. It is a pleasure, and many things have changed upon your planet Earth, and you already feel this. Many of you feel the changes, the upheavals, the massive earthquakes, the volcanoes, the fires, the floods, the droughts, the changes in your weather patterns. Of course, this is continuing. You know this is continuing. This is not something that is new, but it is going to become more prevalent.
Listen, BJ.
Upon places upon your Earth,
Oh, I'm
it doesn't
listening.
really happen. So places that usually seem to be very calm and don't have any kind of upswings or downswings in the weather, these areas too will be affected by these shifts in climate. And the ice caps, yes, are melting, but there is ice coming in other areas. Your scientists are going to find ice appearing in other places. Aha. Yes, you're going to find ice. Ice is going to appear in other places. So that the
Ice
fish
in my cup.
and the
I need
oceans
ice.
will be regenerating themselves. You don't need to worry about your fish too much. There are going to be new species of fish, new things in your oceans that are going to appear.
Don't be worried
that are
about
going to
the
be
fish,
able to eat,
BJ.
that are going to be nourishing, and your oceans will regenerate, dear ones. So
Stop
don't
it
be
for a sec.
concerned.
Stop it for a sec. And I feel like I was watching the Joe Rogan. I was watching an old episode of Joe Rogan, and he had a paleontologist on, and that dude was like berating a dude who had no fucking clue what he was talking about because he was talking about how dinosaurs' bones didn't exist or how that whole thing is bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, I feel the same way as I do about that. How that guy did with this person right here. First of all, lady. Yes, they will find ice caps or ice in other places. You want to know why? Because you just said what you just said. They're fucking melting. Yeah, they're gonna find
She's
ice
talking
elsewhere.
about polar shifts. Yeah,
Duh.
that's what happens when a pole shifts.
When you see those icebergs fucking floating off and melting off, yeah, that's where they go find it because it floats off because it melts away from where it has been for fucking I don't know how long, thousands, millions of years probably. It happens when the polar ice caps melt. Yes, and with the whole thing of, oh, you're gonna start finding new species. We don't even know every fucking species of fish that's in the fucking ocean to begin with anyways. They keep saying that. So no shit we're gonna find new shit eventually. Yes, stuff's gonna come up out of the fucking ground. We just found out that the fucking not the kraken, but the giant squid fucking exists. And there's these weird fucking alien squids that keep going by fucking oil tankers.
Dude, they're
and shit.
pulling out stuff with like faces on them.
Seriously, like,
So-
yes, shit's coming out of nowhere, so yes, lady, I think you're behind on the fucking times. But anyways, let's keep going. I want to hear the rest of what this crazy lady has to fucking say. I'm just saying, from what I hear so far, it's just she's crazy.
No, this is critical information that we need for 2020. Don't you see? They're trying to get us. They're trying to get us to where we could actually be. We're not where we could be, BJ. We're moving back, man. Where we
Do you
could be
listen to
moving
yourself
forward.
already? It already sounds
They want to
crazy.
take us back to the mothership, man.
That's when you look at him, it's like, did you just hear yourself? It sounded nuts.
Just saying, perhaps I'll call them.
Keep going, though. Oh, shit.
All right, here
I'm
we
going to
go.
take a hit while you do this. I
All right.
really need to get in the... Yeah.
All right, here we go.
There are also going to be activations of new languages upon your planet Earth. Language is going to be a big focus during this coming year. How you speak, the power of speech, the power of language, the foreign languages, the understanding of one another, and how you use words. Words have immense power that you do
Let's
not
start a
realize.
language, BJ.
And your thoughts have immense power. The thoughts and the words are the areas that need the most energy.
Dude, our language would consist of like 8 words.
Thinking about what it is you are thinking about, and to the words that you are about to use, and the words that you write, and the words that you communicate will change lives, will change everything around you.
Now, somebody could take that as this pandemic right here, and I think that's exactly where you're going with this.
Yep.
I could tell.
You know.
Look, she could be talking about this pandemic. Now, I don't know if any words that we can't really say besides the Chinese caused it, which is not at all what fucking started this at all. Maybe the fact that it's like... I feel like this is kind of the thing when, like, we were in the Cold War with Russia and you didn't really want to talk about Russia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not a war necessarily against them. It's but for whatever reason people think they caused it. But whether it was, oh, they were testing it in a lab out there in fucking China and it got out, or fucking it was caused by people eating bats or whatever the fuck. The point of the matter is it's fucking here now, so let's not really worry about where it got caused until it's fucking done. You know what I mean? Like, let's worry about how it all got started until this is done, because if we're gonna worry about where it fucking came from, how does that help? How does that help us now? I don't think there's a patient zero that's got a fucking serum where we have to take all their blood and make the fucking cure from their blood. I don't think so. I'm just going off of movie logic, you know. I don't really know if it works like that, but you would hope.
It's all right if you don't have experience. I think
you don't have knowledge in that kind of field. You know what I mean?
I would prefer you didn't have the experience.
And you're going to also get languages from outer space. You're going to get ET languages, and light languages, and body languages.
E.T. phone home. Big pointy light bulb finger.
It's a very powerful time to do with the breath, to do with speech, to do with talking, and to do with literally changing people's lives through the power of your words.
Okay, I
like that.
I actually can agree with
I like
something
what you
on
said
that.
there.
I can actually agree with something on that.
Yeah, that thing you said, I like that shit.
You've not seen before, yes, musically, and in fashion, and in sports, and in...
Okay, now, we're going to play this again. We'll play it again, and then we'll...
yourselves finding new ways of expression. There are going to be new creative outlets during this coming year. Things you've not seen before, yes, musically, and in fashion, and in sports, and in all kinds of different areas. Yes, we are seeing a lot of connection with ETs. Many of you are going to be channeling. It's time to trust your inner voices. Time to trust your guidance.
Okay, before she goes off the crazy train here for a second. She was very normal there for a second, then she started going off the crazy train.
So much enthusiasm.
Very much enthusiasm. But I did like what she said there, where she said there's going to be different avenues for people to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I immediately thought of?
What?
Twitch. I immediately thought of the YouTubes, the streaming sites, all of them. And I mean all of them. I'm not gonna...
I thought of that too. That was one of the first like 2 or 3 I thought.
I'm not gonna be nitpicky about which ones I'm talking about. I'm talking about Mixer. I'm talking about Caffeine.com. I'm talking about fucking any kind of streaming service that you have where people can have a platform to just go and, you know, talk about whatever or just do whatever. That is very real right now. Like, I mean, granted, it was already real to begin with. Like, that was already a thing. Whether people want to debate the whole YouTubers a job thing, that's a topic for another time. But that is very prominent in our way of living right now. How many kids do you know that know a YouTuber? And I mean, just a YouTuber in general.
If they're not a YouTuber themselves.
If they're not trying to be one themselves, you know what I mean?
Because they know someone.
I mean, fuck, are things on fucking YouTube right now? You know what I mean? We have so many different platforms to talk that not many other people did in the past. This is a much different time with all this information and how quick we can respond to this. Like, the Twitter fights we have now were nothing compared to the fucking letter wars of yesteryears, where you've had millions and hundreds upon fucking letters of fuck you,
Right.
going for years and years. You know what I mean?
But what I was gonna say, like, you could say that, and when you said that, it sounded much more genuine and profound than what she was saying. It's just like what she's saying, you could literally label for any other year.
Yeah,
it's
anything.
so just broad and general.
There is no actual pinpoint.
No, it's false hope, and I don't fall for that shit.
That's true.
You don't need to live in so much panic. You don't need to live in so much fear. Live in the joy of finding new solutions to situations. You're going to find solutions to difficult situations. You're going to be able to travel more easily. You're going to be able to transport yourselves more easily. The things that you've been dreaming of upon Star Trek and all your various programs that you have about sci-fi, you're going to start realizing a lot more of those things.
Sci-fi?
Yes, very close, and there's a lot of science that is yet to be revealed that will be revealed during this next 2 to 3 year period. Yes, and you're going to grow yourselves new limbs, new teeth, new bones, new everything. You're going to be able to grow all these things very quickly, very easily.
You want new teeth, BJ?
Do I get to be the fucking forearm thing off of Mortal Kombat?
What, Goro? Was
Yes.
that his name?
Do I get to be part dragon too? Grow snake tongue? Snake eyes?
You're going to find that financially money is going to take on a new flavor. Yes, the way that you've looked at money and hoarding it and holding on to it and needing it for self. And that's going to change a lot. There's going to be some very big upheavals.
I would have
in
to
the
disagree
economy.
with her on that
And,
one.
She said
we're going to have to
upheavals in the
disconnect ourselves
economy.
emotionally a lot from this. It's going to be very difficult. Yes, many of you are emotionally attached to the financial systems that you have, and many of these systems are going to collapse so that new things can come along in that are healthier, that are better for your planet Earth.
No, there
There's
is.
much wonderful things standing at the door, waiting to come in. You just have to open the doors, open the doors, open the doors. Keep opening
But you can't
doors.
open the doors if they're
Visualize
locked.
yourself opening doors and more doors and more doors. Don't close doors.
Fucking talking about Lord of the Rings now? What the fuck? Is there Mordor out there? Are there fucking orcs that we have to go kill? Is fucking Saruman fucking alive again? What the hell? What the fuck is she talking about? Now, she is right that, I mean, it's crazy. If we could fucking exactly find out when this was made.
I'll pull it up after this.
Yeah.
Let's just wrap it up.
Oh goodness, this is another very big subject. But we're going to say to you all, you are growing, you are learning. This is a time of great awakening, of enchantment upon your planet Earth. Difficulties, yes, but coming through those difficulties, stronger and bigger and better than you have ever been before. And we love you all so very much, and you're doing beautifully. Yes, you are. You're growing, you're coming through, you're finding new ways, and keep walking into the new areas. Keep every day walking into something new. Make yourself walk into something new. Make yourself do something new, and you'll find new pathways connect up in your brain. And then you're able to do more things more easily. Yeah. We want you to get into that zone a lot more. Into the zone where you don't
I'm in my
notice
zone.
time. You don't notice, you're not watching.
I won't go there,
going,
sorry.
3 hours left till lunchtime. Ooh. Yes, you're not waiting for things. But you are so present and you are so in the zone that you don't
Danger zone. She did it for me.
Yeah. That is where Rekha goes when she channels.
Yeah, don't you know? Yeah.
Deities or wherever it is.
Yes.
She's outside of time and
Things
space.
is gonna look up, you know?
Get yourselves outside of time and space.
Don't you know?
You'll find that your lives are so much more rich and abundant.
You're so much more rich, don't you know?
Gotta smoke the reefer, man.
An experience that are way beyond the 5 senses that you experience at the moment. It is somewhat limited. So you're opening. There are more events happening upon your planet Earth. Many events.
Many events, BJ.
I like
you know, there's always events.
Many
That's the one thing we can count on in this world is events happening.
I like how she doesn't just discriminate against like any country. She just says the planet Earth as a whole.
Because she loves you. She
Like
loves
it's
me.
going towards Futurama. We're just gonna be planet Earth, the nation planet Earth.
Nothing so heavy as you've been doing.
It's foretelling. That's what it is. Now she does make a good point, though. Like I said,
We're just talking all this, but she does make a good point.
Not that other shit that she was talking about, but before where she said, you know, people are going to be they're attached to the financial you know, the financial institution that they're used to, and now it's going to change.
Yeah.
That is a good point, because that's literally what's happening right now. Now, again, it could be one of two things. Either she is a very informative, intellectual person, or she's crazy, but she still somehow predicted these kind of events happening.
She delivers everything as if she's possessed. Like,
in
the
a
way she's got her
way.
like eyes closed and just.
Oh, well, I wasn't really paying attention to that. I was paying attention to more what was being said, but I guess I didn't see that.
She's like straining her neck. She's got it so high up, and it's just
like I said, that could also be like a multiple
personality
disorder.
Yeah,
totally. You know what I mean? Because they do that too.
December 29th, 2019.
Oh,
yeah, so
wow.
So heed her warning.
Yeah.
If there even was one.
I mean, how many people fucking saw that video? Because then those people knew about this way ahead of time then.
I mean, like I said, you could say that beginning of any year something terrible is going to happen, but we're all going to learn from it. We're all going to grow, and things are going to be better, and we're going to be we're going to be advancing in technology and
that's
spirituality and all that. That's all she was saying. It's like, yeah, you could say that about literally in a year.
I think, but
any year.
And you're right, because I think for the most part, because whether it be Y2K or what, all that other shit.
It doesn't even have to be that extreme.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like there's like end of the world type of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't this the one time though where like the whole world got affected by this though, and not in a way of like the whole world knows about it? Because I mean, stuff happening in such other places does make it around the world eventually. But when was the last time that something like this happened to the world? And where, at least from where I've seen everywhere, at least a lot of places are saying the same thing of like, yeah, I think the world needs to change a little bit in how we view who we are as, who we are as a humanity of people, and like how we treat each other. Now, granted, whether our leaders think that or not is completely beyond the fucking point. But as other people who we don't necessarily have a say in our society or what have you, we can look at doing things a much different way. I know I can say I've taken a much different look at this pandemic than I usually did live before. I mean, this has taught me literally to the point of you need to have money just in case some fucked up shit happens like this. Because I promise you, next time like this happens, I'm gonna be prepared. I do not want this to happen again. And that's the example of what humanity in other fucking ways and other problems, how they need to move forward with it. Because there are many things that we need to do that need to change. Talking about life and shit.
Yeah.
You know what good shit you should be watching on Netflix? Because you're in this fucking pandemic right now? The Midnight Gospel. If you have not taken a look at this fucking show, my fucking God, you are missing out. And I honestly think when this came out, the creator and the other animator, who is Pendleton Ward, and then Duncan Trussell. Duncan Trussell is a comedian, and I'm just gonna read you the description that I get when I put it into Google. A spacecaster traverses trippy worlds inside his universe simulator, exploring existential questions about life, death, and everything in between. And what Duncan Trussell did with this is he took his podcast, which he has, and you can go watch, I'm pretty sure, all of these bits of the podcast, and you can go watch them in full, but he takes his podcast and he animates it, and you just watch this conversation go, and then all this crazy shit happens in the world. It's fucking crazy, and he talks about some really crazy fucking shit. It really does. And I don't want to spoil it for
I was
Gene.
just about to say, I don't want to spoil anything just from what I've seen.
I don't want to spoil anything. All I can tell people is that, yes, if you start watching at first, it is a little weird. Because I actually figured that out without knowing what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
I figured it out just watching it, and I'm like, wait, this is a fucking podcast. This is his podcast.
Oh, see, I went into it knowing that.
I see, I didn't. And I was just like, oh, this is fucking cool. But like I told Gene, go all the way to the very end, because the very last episode of this season, and it did get, I'm pretty sure it is going to get a season 2, which is awesome, by the way.
It is.
get to the last episode. The last episode will make you fucking cry. It made me cry. It really did. And just the person...
Oh, so it's the last episode.
The very last episode.
Okay.
The very last one. I will not spoil it, because if I say anything about it, it's going to ruin it. But the person that he's having a conversation with and what is going on when you're watching this episode will make you cry. I promise you it'll make you cry. Or at least bring a tear to your eye, at least. That rhymed. I can't say enough about this show. I watched this when I was up in Valentine, and I literally binged this in a day, mind you. I watched this whole season in at least a morning, because I was like,
I could have, but I just chose to just watch the first 4 and just left it at that. And I was like, I'll come back to it. I'm definitely going back to it.
You need to, and I'm telling you, you need to binge watch the rest of it. Like, it's not just an indictment, like, people would be like, watch Tiger King, you need to watch Tiger King, which I eventually fucking did.
It's the fucking bane of my existence.
Yes, but you know what, it is very interesting, and I can understand why people liked it.
For the first 3 episodes, it was mildly interesting.
You know, I think the one thing that I could say about that really puzzles the shit out of me is how, and not to talk about the speak ill will of the dead, because one of Joe Exotic's husbands, if you watched it, spoiler alert, he did kill himself. Not doing it on purpose, but it was, as it says in the docuseries, it was just kind of like a playful manner, and that's how he was, and the gun just happened to go off. But I find it very shocking that somehow they said both of the people that were married to Joe Exotic, they both claimed to just be straight. They were not gay.
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
He roped it out of them.
Yeah, he like roped it out of them for some reason. They won't admit that they had some, like, I don't want to say gay tendencies, but they're definitely like,
they had a little sugar in their tank.
Yeah, just a little sprinkle of bi, just to say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You can admit it. You married an old fuck, and I guarantee you touched his dick at least once. Again, I'm not speaking ill will of the dead.
It's male bonding, man. It's male bonding.
It's male bonding time. Yes, that's why they took a picture, you know, with their shirts off and Joe Exotic in the fucking middle, you know, and being like, "Oh yes,
sandwich."
And then like the dude who's still the other husband, ex-husband who's still alive, he got shit because his tattoo looked like, I guess, covered up the...
What you doing, Joe? I'm making a little sandwich. Sandwich.
We're gonna get hate. I'm gonna know. If they ever fucking hear this, they're gonna be like,
I know.
motherfuckers.
You're gonna get a call. You're gonna be like, hello? Yeah, I didn't appreciate what you were saying about me on your little podcast. You know, I had a podcast, and I would eat a sandwich as I was on the podcast, and no one would ever disgrace my sandwich.
And you know who you make him sound like? You make him sound like a Cat Williams character.
Anyway.
But anyways, I think the only real thing about that was really surprising to me, and now we're going to make this talking about the Tiger King. I'm going to go right back to the Midnight Gospel. But the fact that show really exposed the whole baby tiger pet business that had been going on, I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize that a lot of places like that were breeding baby tigers, and then they just got rid of them.
Which is why it lost my interest once it started to divert from that.
That's true. I think just because when I watch a series, I do just watch it all the way through, and I just like to see what it brings.
I get it. I'm usually the same way, but just with that one, I think it was the hype that gives it. When something's that hyped, and I'm just
that's
not
why it took me
into
forever.
it just
And I feel you, and that's usually how I am with most shows. This is why I strayed away from it for a long time until it had people had time to digest, and shit has already started to come out, and I'm like, okay. Now I'm going to watch it now when it's non-hyped, because I'm not having a fuck ton of people sit there and tell me to watch it. I'm watching it on my own accord. Yeah. So now I can make my own decision without any weird fucking hypeness behind it. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I can understand why somebody would find it entertaining. I did for certain levels, because I wouldn't say I'm like a nature activist, but I do love animals. And I will say this, when it comes to Carol Baskins and both of anybody, they can say the bullshit of, oh, well, these tigers are not meant to be in the wild, blah, 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 herpaderp,
Burp derp.
You know, all that bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's more tigers in Texas than there are in the fucking wild. That's not a good... As funny as that is, that's not good. So fuck you, Carol Baskins, and your whole fucking, oh, well, I have a sanctuary down here and all my fucking employees, I don't pay them at all, but you have to be there for fucking a long time just to get these certain color levels with these t-shirts that we pass out that are just in a fucking storage room and spiders and shit all over it. You know, we just pull them out whenever they get to these random spots because, you know, it takes for fucking ever. But we don't pay them, you know, and these things have to stick their heads in a fucking other tiny cage to drink in when you go watch them in their tiny little sanctuary. And we get millions of dollars from fucking PETA and all this other shit. And their facilities suck ass. Like, Carol Baskins. And you have millions of dollars to fight Joe Exotic in court. And you claim that as a good thing against your cause. Fuck you. Don't get me wrong, Joe Exotic and all those fucking people, every person, except for the people who worked for Joe Exotic, like the workers and shit, excluding those people, but more or less the people who own these tiger facilities, you know, sanctuaries, and all, or I wouldn't even say sanctuaries, private-owned zoos.
I'm sorry, at that point, you have no soul in my mind.
Yeah, exactly, because half of their reasonings still had greed behind it. Yeah. Every single one of those motherfuckers' motivation for helping these animals was greed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Carol Baskins, she can say that all day, it's not, but I'm sorry, if you have millions of dollars and you don't even pay your fucking employees that help you, why the fuck are their facilities so not even that much better than what you see at a fucking privately owned zoo in fucking Oklahoma? And if I'm not mistaken, Carol, in that fucking documentary, you sold exotic cats in the fucking 90s. She did. With her fucking husband before that they have no idea what happened to him, and I don't give a fuck of the whole, I don't know what happened to him either.
Yeah.
He randomly fucking disappeared and he was a millionaire. Come
Yeah.
on, that doesn't strike as weird.
That's when I was done. Once it got to that point where it was just like, okay, I'm sorry, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. It's clear that she either did it or she knows what happened to him. That was apparent, and then it just moves to just Joe just antagonizing her for it and just the battle between them online. And I was like, all right, this is boring. This is fucking boring.
Although I will admit, some of the shit that Joe was putting online, it had to be early stages of the internet because he literally had a gun and shot.
That's what was it for me. When he fired that gun, I was just like, I'm not gonna entertain this anymore. It's not entertaining me, so why should I entertain it?
It's a weird thing of like, after I watched it, I had to keep, because like you said, I am kind of a completionist because I want to understand what the fucking hype is when people are like, oh my god, it's so fucking good. And so, it is to a point. But then you see like it goes really diving in so deep into the fucking personal life. It's like, well, these people are just fucked up like a lot of other fucking people.
Yeah.
The only difference is that they deal with fucking tigers. It's a different form of like greed, exploiting something to gain that greed, and then you just made a whole fucking show about it. That's why Jersey Shore exists.
When I start a story, I would love to know. I would love to see the end. Like, where does that story end? So I myself am a completionist, but that just tells you how much I loathe that show.
Because like you said, it just had an extreme amount of hype for no fucking reason. And not to say it did shed a light on a bad thing that's happening in the country. Don't get me wrong, I don't approve of this.
I was just gonna say, I just didn't approve of the support of this whole thing, whole phenomena, if you want to call it one. Like, fuck this shit.
But I will say this: I don't think Joe Exotic deserves to be in jail.
Yeah, but I love how I'm like, man, fuck this fucking stupid ass shit, and I'm like thinking to myself, but I can't wait for Nicolas Cage to play him though.
In the fucking movie.
Yeah, I am looking forward to that.
Anyways, back to what we were actually talking about.
Yeah, what were we talking about again? No, the Midnight Gospel. Yeah,
it's fucking great. Go watch it. If you want to watch something that's a fucking trip, and it's podcasting in the future, if that's the best way I could put it. It's like if some random dude was able to do a podcast and went to different Earths, and that's literally the best description I can give to you for this show.
And I think that suits it.
It's really good, too. It's one of those shows that really does, if you like sitting there thinking about, like, you know, what's life? What is this perpetual just things that we keep doing and we keep moving forward just to make decisions that, you know, I have to do this to be a healthy fucking person. And then you find, like, other avenues to do it differently than when you're, you know, the way your parents did it or your grandparents did it. And it's just a whole... It's trying to find your happiness, and I think a lot of times it's like most people think that happiness is just done by the book.
Yeah.
When I think really it's like you just have to go and experience life, and then you'll find your happiness. Whether it's going by the book or whatever, I think it's more of you just need to experience life to really understand of, like, you know, where do you want to go and do whatever. Because if you have a sheltered life, you just don't know what the fuck you're going to do ever. You know what I mean? You're only going to know the little amount that you have done for your life, however long that's been, and that's a really warped perspective of the world, especially if it's not just trying to shit on the Amish or anything like that, but it's like if you come from an Amish community, there's a whole reason why they have a period of, like, when those kids are old enough to, like, go on their own, they send them out to the city for a year. If they want to do that, don't come back. If you want to come back and be Amish, come back and be Amish. And I think a lot of times those kids don't go back.
A lot of times they don't.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, they're just like, oh, there's a world outside of this weird, warped reality that I've been living for the past 18 years. And it's not to say that that style of living isn't meant for some people. It is for some people, but in some ways it's not the best perspective on, like, what the world is going on, because that's a life of, like, you just want to work and just do the same routine of stuff over and over again of life and not really expand your mind, the ideas of, like, you know, technology and being other places and just doing other things. It's like being a farmer back in the 1800s, you know, or just anything like that, or like whether it be Scientology or whether it be fucking whatever. Things that only give you a certain reality when there's an actual different reality beyond that. Beyond that beyond that one singular idea that's like, this is what reality is and it's nothing else.
Yeah.
Which is not true, because everybody's reality is different. Everybody perceives something differently. Even if your family, like your own family, perceives something differently than you do. I can honestly say I perceive something different than my mother. We do not agree on most things. I promise you that. We butt heads about shit all the fucking time. But it's weird because we can come to a fucking middle even after being, I would say, if people on the outside could hear it, angry at each other. But we get to a point where it's like a middle and we're like, okay, this is what you're talking about and this is what I'm talking about. Okay, we're all like, we somehow get to a middle. God damn, I went on a giant rant and forgot where. But that's the best thing that I could say about, like, the Midnight Gospel. That's what it does. It talks about other weird things about life and, like, people's, you know, like, oh, you know, like, there's some people who, like, know energy about life and talk about that. They talk about a lot of different stuff in this show.
Yeah, I love it.
I can't do it credit. Like, I just went on a really high fucking rant there, and I forgot my place. So, like I said, I can't do it justice, but it's a really good series. I'm pretty sure it's the #1 animated series on Netflix right now. I'm pretty sure.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Give it a watch. But the other thing I have been watching is more wrestling-based. Everybody knows I love my fucking wrestling. Fuck, we were just talking about it even just a little bit ago.
Yep.
And if you guys don't know, there has been a series out there called Dark Side of the Ring. It's on Viceland on TV.
Vice is nice.
Vice is nice. They had a season 1 last year, and they had 6 episodes. You know, I'll run through the couple. They had Match Made in Heaven, which talks about Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth, which, you know, if you know anything about, oh yeah, like it's fucking Macho Man Randy Savage. You know what I mean? Like it really dives into, like, their whole personal relationship and shit. It's a nice look at it. You know what I mean? it's looks that you couldn't get back in the early 2000s, you know? Like, everybody speculated, like, oh, what was going on behind the scenes? Because, I mean, we were all told it was fucking fake, so of course we thought, oh, what was going on behind the curtain? Because we know there's fucking backstage politics now.
Yeah, I didn't even think they were really married.
No, right? Yeah, and
until
they
I
were
watched
actually
the show,
married.
I was like, oh, shit.
And a lot of the shit that was shown on TV, like, a lot of stuff in WCW, like, it was talking about their personal lives, like what was going on and shit, and it's kind of like it also showed the people like there are no lines when it comes to a storyline. Like,
it was a lot of art imitating life.
A lot, and that's what wrestling is.
Yeah.
And even this next one, the Montreal Screwjob. If you don't know what that is, even if you're not a wrestling fan, this is what literally showed that there's backstage fucking politics. To a T. You get to see a wrestler spit on his owner and then just write WCW at the end of a fucking match because he got literal screwed in a fake match. That's how you know there's some fuckery. Like, not only are you already have the outcome to a match, you then get fucked over on your fake match. I guess I shouldn't say fake match. Your choreographed match. You know what I mean? Like, how much fuckery does there have to be?
Man, the wrestling world is ugly.
It's very ugly. And then they do talk about murders and, like, family deaths and stuff. Like, Bruiser Brody, nobody has solved that murder. And he was a big wrestler back in the 80s, and I would, most of the 80s pretty much. The Von Erich family, if you're living under a rock, the Von Erich family is huge back in the 80s and 90s, especially in Texas, and the 70s in Texas too, in Texas territories and stuff like that. They were a huge draw with the Fabulous Freebirds. This is, you know, part of wrestling history. Gino Hernandez, who was I would say a really up and coming prospect in Texas, who he was found dead, shot in his fucking apartment in the 80s, and again, nobody knows what happened to him. And it goes on and on and on. But I think this is where they got a lot more traction. Because then, this last year, March 24th actually, of 2020, they came out with the talk of Chris Benoit, one of the more famous stories of wrestling. They talk about Jimmy Snuka and when he, supposedly killed his girlfriend. They never were able to... I think actually they did convict him of him actually doing it, but it was something that WWE covered up at the time, and it took 30 years for them to finally get him in court again, after he's a decrepit old man and his brain was deteriorating. They have that, they have the Life of New Jack, they have the WWE Brawl for All, which I'm actually gonna fucking talk about, because people, if you have never experienced a Brawl for All, I'm telling you don't. But I'm also telling you, go watch the Viceland series, because you'll understand what I'm talking about. The Brawl for All. Now, as you know, like I said, WWE as a whole, and professional wrestling as it has been since, I would say, at least the 70s, have been a choreographed fight. And that's how it's been. And I say that because the 60s, 50s, all the way down, that's not choreographed. There was a point where wrestling stopped being real and it went to actors. But the Brawl for All was WWE's brainchild of having a boxing tournament with wrestlers that are in the mid-card to try to give one of them a big push. The whole reason why this thing got started because JBL, if you know who that is, or Bradshaw as he was called back then, was talking shit in the locker room. And Vince Russo sitting there. I mean, granted, I'll give him this. Bradshaw was a cocky asshole back in the fucking day. But Vince Russo sitting there hearing that was like, you think you can beat up everybody in this locker room, huh? Well, why don't we have a literal boxing tournament that goes on for a couple weeks to prove that? I'm gonna run you down the list of names that were on this Brawl for All, alright? We have Steve Blackman, then Mark Marrow. We have a dude named Mark Catcherberry against Bradshaw. Bradshaw beat him. Rackus versus Savio Vega. Savio Vega's very old. It's still been around. We had Bart Gunn versus Bob Holly, which they were a tag team at the fucking time. So when this came about, it was actually pretty pretty tense because it was like, shit, these dudes are actually gonna beat each other's ass. We have Becker Perry versus Steve Williams, Dr. Death Steve Williams, which, funny enough, this whole tournament was for him. This whole tournament was to get Dr. Steve Williams a good push to face Stone Cold Steve Austin. That was the ultimate goal of this whole fucking tournament. But I'll get to that here. Then we have this, and this is the crazy thing. We have The Godfather versus Dan Severn. And if you know who Dan Severn is, he's an actual UFC, like Ultimate Fighter heavyweight champion. And he was a part of this fucking tournament at the time because he was in pro wrestling. And then these weird dudes called 8-Ball and Scorpio. I don't even know who the fuck these two dudes are. And when I tell you that it was bad, it was fucking bad. Not because it wasn't real, but it was like these dudes had no idea how to box. And there wasn't any really set rules for the fucking tournament. They kind of made rules up on the fucking fly. Flash forward to like Bart Gunn facing Dr. Steve Williams, Dr. Death Steve Williams, the dude that's supposed to win the whole fucking thing. Bart Gunn actually beats him in this fight, and he gets knocked out of the fucking tournament. But on top of that, Dr. Steve Williams tore his ACL during the fight. And after that fight, was never in pro wrestling again because so many people got hurt during this fucking stupid thing that they put on. More wrestlers got hurt than it did push their careers. A lot of guys didn't even get a good push because of this. Dan Severn fucking backed out of it after beating The Godfather, knocked him the fuck out, backed out of it, and The Godfather moved on in the tournament because Dan Severn was like, this is gonna ruin my fucking reputation if I do this shit. The only justification of this was when Bart Gunn beat Steve Williams, they're like, holy shit, the big name is out, what the fuck's gonna happen? So go all the way to the finals.
Here goes our meal ticket, guys.
Right, yeah, like, fuck, what the hell are we gonna do now? And you know how much money they paid Dr. Death Steve Williams for like only being there 6 months? About $10 million. And because of that injury, he couldn't wrestle anymore, so they literally were paying an injured wrestler.
Man, oh man.
At the very end, it was JBL Bradshaw versus Bart Gunn. Again, Bradshaw was the one who started this whole thing, had fought his whole way and won, going all the way to the finals. Bart Gunn knocks him out in the fucking second round. So, but again, like I said, this tournament was supposed to boost somebody's career and put him into the main event. This tournament was supposed to go whoever was the winner was supposed to face Steve Austin.
Take him to the next level.
And yeah.
Sit at the big boy table. Yeah.
That didn't happen for Bart Gunn. You know what Bart Gunn got instead? He got a boxing match with Butterbean at WrestleMania. Now, granted, giving him 6 months to train and actually be a boxer.
You know, if you're the guy that Butterbean's walking in the ring with,
you're dying.
Yeah.
And even in the
Vice sacrifice, that's an execution.
You know what's funny? In the Viceland episode, Butterbean talks about that. He was like, Vince McMahon made me come here to do this job to teach this guy a lesson. He's like, that was the only reason why I was there. He was like, there was no reason to have this amateur fight me when I'm a prize boxer. Yeah.
Oh, professional.
Dude, it's true though. Because
murdered a man.
Because Bart Gunn got knocked the fuck out at WrestleMania. You can go look it up. I'm sorry, Bart. But he did. He got his ever-living shit beat out of him. Because at this point, Butterbean's still in, like, boxing condition. This is, I think, right before he went and did MMA, like, right after this. But, like, you know, he's still in the prime of his fucking prize-fighting career. He knocks this motherfucker out. Like, it wasn't even funny. Like, it's sad. And after that, Bart Gunn's career, like, kind of went down the toilet after that. It was a whole stupid tournament that ended up not even working at all. You know, and that's just one example of the amount, like, the stupid shit that this show will expose about the WWE, and the list goes on. And the last one they just did was the Owen Hart accident, which I will talk about this one because I made Gene sit there and watch the whole episode, and he It was almost the most depressing way to.
It didn't feel like a chore though. So when you say you made me watch it, I don't want that to leave the impression that like
I didn't make you. I influenced you to watch it because I turned it on. But but it was. I was gonna say it was kind of like a depressing way to want to start up the podcast, because once we start talking about it, you'll understand why. And I don't really believe that Owen Hart's family is ever gonna hear this. And I'm not saying it's going to be a bad thing I talk about this. I just don't want them to ever feel like I'm against, just because I'm very much with them. Like, as much as I love the WWE and I've watched so much stuff from them and all that stuff, it doesn't take away what happened with this. Owen Hart was a part of, obviously, the Hart Dynasty family. So this goes with Bret Hart, the British Bulldog, the Anvil Neidhart, like the list goes on and on and on. Like, he was part of this wrestling family and was really fucking good. Like, he was a prodigy, like they said in the episode. And I would not disagree with him on that. He very much was a wrestling prodigy. But ultimately what happens, what they talk about in this episode is his very untimely death. And you don't necessarily, that phrase gets thrown around like a lot when you say, oh, it was an untimely death. But like, really, wasn't it an untimely death, or was it like a cause of them doing something fucking stupid death? This one is not that. Owen Hart loses his life because at the time he was being portrayed as a character called the Blue Blazer, which he had done like 10 years previous, when he was starting out. And this is around the Attitude Era, so they didn't really have anything creative for him. Like they couldn't think of anything, which, even me sitting thinking about it, I'm like, how the fuck could you not do something with Bret Hart's motherfucking brother? And it was during a pay-per-view in Kansas City. I can't necessarily remember. Can you remember what the pay-per-view was? I don't remember the name of it, but it was in Kansas City.
Remember, it was in KC.
It was in Kansas City. And the Blue Blazer persona, he would do a classic Sting thing where he would come from the rafters and come down on a harness and shit, and come down from the ceiling. And he had done a
Sting parody.
Yeah, a Sting parody, trying to make fun of it and shit. At least that's what they said in the episode. I'm sure it had
dressed him up like a joke.
Yeah, seriously, dude.
He fucking luchador with a cape.
He's trying to be a weird superhero.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, he's about to come out to the ring and come down from his spot. His connection with the harness, whatever lock he had, and from what the episode says, it was a kind of lock that's meant for a boat sail. So like, when you need to open the sail, the thing will open it and doesn't take a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they were using for this, and that's not what they were supposed to be using.
Not what you're supposed to use for a harness.
No, because it only had, I think, about 6 pounds of pressure was the amount it took to open up that lock.
Jeez.
So, WWE, you can fight this all you fucking want, but this is the evidence, and his fucking widow talked about this. So, you can go fuck off. As much as God's dick will go up your ass. So, because of that, this mechanism, or like the team that they had was unprofessional and did it this way. And because of that, the lock came off. And from what Jim Rouse says, he sees Owen Hart fall. And from what he says, he's like, he either hit the turnbuckles hard, or he hit the ring post hard, because he said it was a very sickening sound, and I'm pretty sure he hit his head on the ring post from 100 feet, mind you. Like that is the KC arena is very high. Like this, most arenas are, but he fell from the very top and then fell right onto a steel post in the corners that they usually have. Subsequently, he died.
And his last words were, "Look out, look out."
Yeah, like telling people to move out of the way, even though he knows he's about to die. He's still telling people to get out of the way so he doesn't hurt anybody. If that doesn't tell you the kind of person that Owen Hart was, you got no soul. Seriously, like a dude like that who was more concerned with other people's health than his own, and a point of where he knows he's probably not going to make it after this fall. And so, this is on television, mind you. This is on a pay-per-view. This happens. Poor Jim Ross, dude. Seriously, poor Jim Ross, man. He has to fill in time, and they can't even show the ring because, like, they have actual paramedics and shit trying to get Owen Hart out of the ring, get him to a hospital. Jim Ross has to fill fucking time for this, and he's not given any information of what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, they're just leaving him to stall for him.
They tell him information, and then it's like 10, 9, and then he goes straight back to camera. Like, I say kudos to you, dude, for trying to, like, make a situation very tough at the time and trying to make some sense of it, even though you had, I'm sure, at the time, no real conceivable fucking idea what the hell was going on, like, at all. And they eventually do get Owen Hart out of the ring, and they find out he died. They continued going on with the pay-per-view. I don't know about you folks, but, like, if a fucking player died during a football game, they would stop. They would not continue on.
He falls, he's lying there on his back, nobody knows what's going on, they then carry him off, and now we're just having to stall until we know what happened to him. Oh, he's dead. People, he's dead. Alright, now back to the show.
Literally. Like, why the fuck would you continue to keep doing a show when you know a wrestler just died? Vince McMahon was getting interviewed by reporters and shit, saying, like, why wasn't it more safe for Owen Hart?
He said, I don't appreciate your tone.
Right, this is a serious matter, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, this is not the first time a wrestler has died underneath your fucking banner, dude. This is not. This is like the fucking 4th or 5th time. And, like, you're still a global phenomenon, and you don't ever answer for what the fuck has happened to half of these wrestlers. But this stuff that I'm listing off here in all the 16 episodes of Dark Side of the Ring, they're fantastic. They're good. They give an insight to stuff that I don't think many people know of, or are really given the time to look at.
No, that's why it's the dark side.
It is, and that's what I've been watching in fucking quarantine. Been going balls deep into fucking wrestling. Is it an obsession or an addiction? I'm not sure.
You ready to get yesteryears and then run this all home with your dream? And okay.
Yeah.
All
right. Let's do it. Since we're getting in the late stages of the night here.
Yeah. now it's time for yesterday. All right, so today is May 25th, 2020, and the most eventful things that happened on May 25th in history. 585 BC. The first known prediction of a solar eclipse was made in Greece.
Huh.
1080.
Right.
What'd you say?
I said, all right.
All right.
I don't really, I mean,
well, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say about that. But, all right. That's where it all started. Good for them.
1085. Alfonso VI took Toledo, Spain from the Muslims. 1786.
Can't have anything fucking nice.
This is why Muslims can't have nice things. Because of Alfonso VI.
Damn it.
1787. The Constitutional Convention opened in Philadelphia with George Washington presiding.
With his fake-ass wooden teeth.
And fake-ass hair. 1810. Argentina declared independence from Napoleonic Spain.
I was go with that first. Sorry.
1844. The gasoline engine was patented by Stuart Perry.
I was gonna say, you know why they wore the white wigs though, right?
I do, and I forget every time.
It was like they had a weird like flesh-eating disease, and it would like they.
I was gonna say I remember it being
their head.
germ-related.
Mm-hmm. So they wore the white powdered wigs so it would cover the fucking holes in their head.
Yeah. 1844, again, the first telegraphed news dispatch sent from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore appeared in the Baltimore Patriot.
Nice.
1925, John Scopes was indicted for teaching the Darwinian theory in school.
So, like, the theory of that, like, it's life and, like, we've been here a while.
Of evolution? Yeah.
Yes, not fucking, oh, yeah, we plopped here 8,000 years ago. The planet is only 6,000 years old, guys.
And we all came from Adam and Eve.
And the dinosaurs were planted here. The bones were planted in the ground on purpose so we could find them later.
Just to keep us busy.
Just to keep us busy, yes.
1935, Babe Ruth hit his final home run, his 714th, and set a record that would stand for 39 years.
They say that's actually controversial, just because That's the last one he hit in the major leagues, yes. But it is also documented that he did go play in other leagues later on in his career that was not in the major leagues. So the number is actually suspect to it probably was a lot higher than that, but it's just unofficial because it wasn't in the MLB.
Oh, all right.
Nice little snippet of...
Little Ruth trivia.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, on that same day, today, 1935, was the same day as Babe Ruth hit his final home run. Jesse Owens tied the world record for the 100-yard dash. He ran it in 9.4 seconds. He also broke 3 other world track records.
Woo!
1946, Jordan gained independence from Britain. In 1953, in Nevada, the first atomic cannon was fired.
Big boom. Get in the refrigerator!
Big boom. Go boom.
Be like Indiana Jones, get in that goddamn refrigerator that can withstand the goddamn atomic blast.
Yeah, nuke the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
1961. America was asked by U.S. President Kennedy to work toward putting a man on the moon before the end of the decade.
And damn it, he got fucking shot in the head.
1963. The Organization of African Unity was founded. 32 African countries formed a coalition against white rule. The Organization of American Unity was founded to promote decolonization and end white minority governments in Africa. The OAU was replaced by the African Union in 2002.
That's why it's only South Africa now that's ran by pretty much white people.
You people like the South of everything, so take it!
Take it! Make it pretty!
It's all right.
Make it the only place that people want to go to in Africa.
Because it's all white.
Because it's all right. No, sorry.
1969. Led Zeppelin and The Who appeared together in concert at the Merriweather Post Pavilion.
That was probably a fucking blast.
1973. Mike Oldfield released his Tubular Bells LP. The title track would later become...
Tubular Bells LP.
The title track would later become the theme for the movie The Exorcist. 1974. Pam Morrison, Jim Morrison's widow, died of a drug overdose.
Shocker.
1977.
Not to speak ill will of the dead, but shocker.
Damn. 1977. Star Wars A New Hope opened and became the largest grossing film to date. 1978. Keith Moon performed with The Who for the last time.
A funny little thing about that, I actually had his grandson as my gym teacher.
Wow. All right, man.
Well, this is how the story went. I had gotten a book, like a rock and roll history book, in like 7th, 6th grade, and at that time I was really interested in like knowing like, you know, just the ins and outs of like older bands and like, you know, who was big in the 70s, 80s, 90s. I'm pretty sure that was the premise. And my mom got me a book, and I was religiously looking through this book. I remember I had for like months. I would bring it into class, and I wouldn't look at my textbook. I would look at this book. And he was actually a substitute at the time, and he walked by when I was reading about The Who. And I was on the part about Keith Moon, and he looked at me, and funny enough, his last name was Moon, but I did not put that together, because I was just like, oh, it's just a random coincidence. And he came up to me, and he's like, oh, do you like reading that book and stuff? I'm like, yeah, I love learning about this kind of stuff. He's like, he looked at me, and he's like, do you know why the Moon name sounds familiar? Like that Moon in this, in mine? And I'm like, me being a kind of dumb kid, I couldn't put 2 and 2 together. I was like, no, why? And he's like, that's my grandfather. I'm like, what? Why are you a gym teacher in the middle of Nebraska? What the fuck? Like, why are you out here? What the hell? And he's like, well, my mom just moved away after, after the whole living in California and stuff. She moved out here. I was like, that's fucking insane. So yeah, I knew Keith Moon's grandson for a little bit while I was in middle school.
I can honestly say that's not what I was expecting to come out of your mouth, but there it is. There you have it.
And he was a substitute gym teacher. Let that settle in.
Substitute teacher at that. 1979. Eaton Pats disappears. The disappearance and murder of the 6-year-old boy from New York City and the extensive publicity it received helped spark the missing children's movement. Also in 1979, an American Airlines DC-10 crashed during takeoff at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport.
That
200
sucks ass.
275 people were killed. 1981, daredevil Daniel Goodwin scaled Chicago's Sears Tower while wearing a Spider-Man costume. It took him 7.5 hours.
Spider-Man ain't too quick there, was he?
1983, The Return of the Jedi opened nationwide and set a new record in opening day box office sales.
Whoop whoop.
The gross was $6 million and some none of that.
At the time was a fucking lot of money.
Yeah. 1985, Bangladesh was hit with a hurricane and tidal wave that killed more than 11,000 people.
And what was the name? What name did they give the hurricane? They don't name their fucking hurricanes?
I don't have a name.
Or the tidal wave or whatever? It wasn't like a combo name or some shit like that?
No, not that I know of.
Savages. No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
1986, approximately 7 million Americans participate in Hands Across America.
Is that the thing where they have like all the people holding hands across the whole
Literally
world
across
thing?
America, yes.
Okay, alright.
1988, Debbie Gibson's Foolish Beat hit #1, making her the youngest artist to write, sing, and produce a #1 hit. She was 17 years old at the time.
Well, goddamn! I think Billie Eilish took that though. Didn't she?
But she didn't produce
her own stuff.
Her own stuff. Her brother would.
That's right.
So that's
Okay,
where
yeah.
Debbie Gibson has her beat.
Okay,
But I thought that too. I thought of Billie too. 1989, the Calgary Flames won their first NHL Stanley Cup by defeating the Montreal Canadiens.
As it probably should be normally, because it was made in fucking Canada. Anyways,
1992.
Good for you, Calgary.
1992, Jay Leno debuted as the new permanent host of NBC's Tonight Show.
Wow.
1992, also, Khalil Roundtree, tour manager for Boyz II Men, was shot and killed at a hotel in Chicago. The group was on tour with MC Hammer, TLC, and Jodeci at the time of the incident.
Holy shit, was that a lineup?
1996.
But goddamn. Yeah, if you can't touch this, then...
1996. If you can't touch this till the end of the road, then look for waterfalls, and I can't think of a Jodeci song.
And you can't touch that waterfall either.
Yeah. Because it was Hammer's tour. TLC,
really?
Jodeci, and Boyz II Men were openers for MC Hammer.
Wow.
1996, Bradley Nowell from Sublime was found dead in his San Francisco motel room of a drug overdose at the age of 26.
May he rest in peace.
Also in 1996, in Nimes, France, Christina Sanchez became the first woman to achieve the rank of Matador in Europe. Where one life ended with Bradley Nowell, a new one began with Christina Sanchez. In 1997, U.S. Senator Strom Thurmond became the longest-serving senator in U.S. history, 41 years and 10 months.
There's something wrong with that.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a good example of that should not be a thing.
He's in a better place now.
That is true.
1997, again, Bob Dylan was admitted to a Los Angeles hospital with chest pains. As a result, his European tour was canceled. Also in 1997, Poland adopted a constitution that removed all traces of communism. 1999, a report by the U.S. House of Representatives Select Committee on U.S. National Security and Military Commercial Concerns with the People's Republic of China concluded that China had stole design information on the U.S. most advanced thermonuclear weapons, and that China's penetration of U.S. weapons laboratories spans at least the past several decades and almost certainly continues today.
Well, that was a fucking mouthful.
2000.
Jesus Christ, a lot of fucking shit happened today.
The
What
Walt
fuck?
Disney Company and Time Warner Inc. signed a long-term deal that ended a dispute over the airing policies of Time Warner. Time Warner had blocked out Disney programs for a 39-hour period the previous month due to the lack of an agreement. 2001, Eric Windmayer, 32 years old, became the first blind climber to reach the summit of Mount Everest.
That dude's got some big fucking balls.
Also in 2001 today, they must have been Mount Everest trip buddies because Sherman Bull, 64, became the oldest climber to reach the summit of Mount Everest.
That was before it was covered in feces and fucking garbage.
Yes, it was. They started the pile.
I know they started the. They're the fucking culprits. God damn them.
And finally, 2008, NASA's Phoenix Mars lander landed in the Arctic plains of Mars. And
never to be seen again.
As most landers go. Birthdays. Ralph W. Emerson, 1803. He's an essayist, philosopher, poet. Luther Bill Robinson, also known as Bill Bojangles Robinson, tap dancer, actor.
Is he the reason that they have the Bojangles restaurants?
Probably. Igor.
If you live in the South, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That Bojangles.
Igor Sigorsky, 1889 pioneer in aviation with helicopters and fixed-wing aircrafts. Norman Petty, 1927 musician, songwriter, record producer. Robert Ludlum, 1927 author of the Jason Bourne series.
Really? Wow.
Beverly Sills, 1929 opera singer. Tom T. Hall, 1936 country singer songwriter. Donnie Elbert, 1936 singer. Raymond Carver, 1938 short story writer poet. Ian McKellen, 1939 actor known for Gandalf and Magneto. Jesse Coulter, 1943, country musician. Frank Oz, 1944, actor, puppeteer, known for such things as Miss Piggy and Yoda. Also directed one of my favorite movies, Bowfinger.
Bowfinger?
Yeah. You never seen Bowfinger?
I'm pretty sure I've never seen Bowfinger.
You've seen Bowfinger.
I don't fucking have never seen a movie called Bowfinger.
Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy. No?
Maybe I have that.
All right. Sugar Minot, 1956, reggae singer. Mike Myers, 1963.
Are you horny, baby? Yeah.
That's it. No big names died on this day, and so that would be the most eventful things that happened in yesterday. Now, moving on really quick. We're just going to zoom through these. This is WRAT, unrelated news. I'm going to start with this one. A little something called the Snyder Cut.
Snyder Cut?
Yeah, you know, back in November 2017, a little movie came out called Justice League. And,
oh, what, that abomination?
Yeah, that's a good word for it. I look at it more as a rape victim, but yeah, that works.
They're raping him! We stood there, we did nothing!
So yeah, I'm gonna keep it brief and short. Look, Zack Snyder is a great visionary director. Made such films as 300, Dawn of the Dead, Watchmen, Man of Steel, Sucker Punch. So Justice League, he was director of that because he was directing the DC. He directed Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, and then he was directing Justice League. And Batman vs Superman came out as he was filming Justice League, and the reception was not so hot for BVS.
It was shitty.
Yeah, to say the least. So Warner Brothers got a little worried. They started getting cold feet, and they were pressuring him to make it more light in tone and more like a Marvel film or what have you.
They were shitting themselves.
So he's already in the midst of doing that. He's doing reshoots and such, and then his daughter commits suicide. So then he just immediately he decides to just pull out. Like, he's clearly got something more important to tend to. So then Joss Whedon, the director of the Avengers, came in. They sought him out to come in and take over, and that's why
save our shitty film.
That's why you watch that movie and it's just it's lame and it's a mess at once. So there's just no entertainment value whatsoever. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who enjoyed it, but yeah.
Not I, good sir. That's fucking movie sucked absolute donkey ass.
He had a vision though. He had a vision that spread it across 5 different films, I believe.
Probably.
And so the movie came out. It's like they chopped it up to shit. Like hardly any of what he did is in there. People who worked in the crew said that we only saw like 20% of it, of the real of his cut. So the day after that movie came out, a large majority of his fans collectively decided to create a petition in order for the Snyder Cut. The petition got, I want to say, at least easily over 100,000 signatures within like that day or so. And but nothing ever came from it. Nothing ever happened.
Not.
So now years and years of this, there's been this hashtag release the Snyder Cut. There's been a real movement. Now the hard work is paid off, and now he's finally going to get his cut released on HBO Max. And it's going to be his full-on cut that spans about 4 hours, and they're going to cut it up into a little mini-series. And it's going to be called Zack Snyder's Justice League. So I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm going to say this. I don't think anything would even save that, even a different cut of the movie by somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, maybe if they watch...
It's him telling his story, though. Like, he started a story with Man of Steel that then continued in BVS, and then Justice League is meant to be a sequel to that, but then the stuff in the cut that was released in theaters and that you can go and pick up now, like, none of that is paid off. There's nothing from those two films that pays off in that one.
Well, fuck
because it wasn't his vision. It wasn't his film.
It all ends. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't made anything after that. You know what I mean? Like,
because it was a mess.
Because they wouldn't take the fucking time.
Yeah, it was a castle made of cards, and it was just
literally
on itself. So yeah, there was that. Unrelated. We mentioned how the country's reopening and how fucking just
too early it is.
It's just like you said. It's inevitable. We're gonna shut down again.
Oh,
it's gonna be for a longer period.
I mean, shit. They say we're gonna be dealing with this for like the next 2 years easily.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like, so it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like, if that hasn't crossed people's minds of like this, we could possibly shut down again.
Yeah.
You guys have not been thinking that hard then, because I don't necessarily like to think about this just because I've already said like it's kind of like in the meh category in my personal opinion, but we're gonna be like this for a while. Like, I've already seen it. I can already think about it, and like, I'm not that smart. I'm not. I'm an idiot. You know what I mean?
No, you're not, BJ.
I like to think, but you know, it's more or less because at this point in time, I have a lot of thinking I can do because my brain's not doing anything. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Like, my brain's just kind of in limbo, and it gets to sit there and think about some of the weirdest shit. And I'm just like, I got all day to think about this. I think I will.
Yeah, so there's that. That pretty much is what's going on nowadays. And unrelated, Mike Tyson, did you hear about him in AEW? How he's going to be at least doing a match. I don't know if he's going to like have like a full-on career through them, but he's doing a match.
At the age of motherfucking 50, that dude could knock somebody out still. It's fucking crazy.
I'm actually shocked that it hasn't happened sooner.
Yeah,
like when I saw that, I was like, I thought this would have happened like damn near a decade ago. Speaking of wrestling, we lost 2 souls that dedicated their lives to the world of wrestling this past week. First up is Shad Gaspard, found dead on Venice Beach.
If you don't know, for people who don't know anything about wrestling, he was the model for this latest God of War.
I was actually going to mention that. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that, BJ. He did do mocap for Kratos for the most recent God of War for the PS4. He didn't do the voice or nothing. And I've seen behind the scenes, so the actors that play the characters, they still do the mocap themselves, but I imagine they got him for the physicality of it.
For the look? Oh,
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you don't know what his name was in WWE, he was part of Crime Time. That's what it was called.
So, yeah, he went missing on Sunday after he had been swimming in Marina del Rey with his 10-year-old son.
Who he saved because of that.
The 2 got caught in a rip current. His son was rescued, but Gaspard's body was unable to be located till it was found on Venice Beach early that following Wednesday.
May he rest in peace.
Yes, may he rest in peace.
Like another guy who was also very well liked in the wrestling business, exactly like Owen Hart. There was nothing ever bad ever said about Chad Gaspard. He was, at least from what I can tell about many interviews that people knew about him, was a very well-liked guy in the locker room.
A true blue kind of dude.
He was a very much he liked the boys. He very much liked to keep peace. He liked to keep a cool, like, relaxed attitude in the locker room. So it's very sad, honestly, that he is dead. Because that was actually a huge shock for me when I saw that. Because I was like, really? Like, I mean, you know, like, granted, he wasn't there for that long, but it still sucks when you hear about shit like that. And who was the other one?
Hana Kamara.
Oh yeah, she was younger, wasn't she? She was like in her 20s.
She was 22.
Yes.
Japanese pro wrestler and star of Netflix series Terrace House, daughter of pro wrestler Kyoko Kimura. She auditioned to be part of Wrestler One, Japanese group, in 2015. She made her debut the following year. She competed in several matches in the Ring of Honor series, including a 6-woman tag match at a sold-out event at Madison Square Garden.
Shout out to Ring of Honor.
She was found in her home, and she's people have been looking back at her last few posts on social media, and she posted on Instagram a photo of her posing with her cat with a message saying goodbye. And then on another post on Instagram, she said, "I love you, live long and happy, I'm sorry." She posted what appears to be a suicide note on Twitter that translated to the following. I'm guessing it was in Japanese since translated.
Yeah.
Translated to the following: nearly 110 frank opinions every day. I couldn't deny that I was hurt. I'm dead. Thank you for giving me a mother. It was a life I wanted to be loved. Thank you to everyone who supported me. I love it. I'm weak. I'm sorry. I don't want to be a human anymore. It was a life I wanted to be loved. Thank you, everyone. I love you. Bye.
God fucking damn.
It was a life I wanted to be loved. I wonder what because that's not a clean enough translation, clearly. I'm really curious what she's meaning by that.
At least from what I could gather,
she's saying I just wanted to be loved all my life or something, but she says, "Thank you for giving me a mother. It was a life I wanted to be loved."
It might have been lost in translation, because honestly it doesn't make...
Because she says it twice. She says
a life I wanted to live, maybe?
She says it twice. I don't think she's mistaken.
I mean, I know wrestlers do... I mean, a lot of them do suffer from depression and shit. So,
yeah.
I mean, a wrestler getting a bunch of, cheers and shit from a crowd, even though, they are getting actual appreciation for the talents that they have,
yeah.
At the same time...
They've ruled her suicide as a case of cyberbullying.
That is very possible, too. Although I don't know what they could really cite.
That's why she says nearly 110 frank opinions every day. I don't know. Yeah, I'm really curious what she gets shit for. I don't know if it's the Netflix series, her wrestling persona. I mean,
it
her
could
presence.
also.
I don't know.
I mean, I would take a stab in the dark and say that it would probably just be the whole women's wrestling in general.
Okay.
Kind of thing, because there are a good select of pro wrestling fans out there who just strictly like the male ones. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I don't like women's wrestling, but there is some women's wrestling I have watched and just like, I know you guys are trying, I'm just not into this, which is fine. Different strokes for different folks when it comes to pro wrestling.
Right.
But there is some women's wrestling out there that's really fucking good, though. And I feel like maybe a bunch of that comment was probably that. Maybe it was... I can't really say because I don't know much about it, but if I had to take a guess, it probably was a bunch of you'll never be as good as a guy, or women's pro wrestling is stupid, or something stupid, some along those lines, I'm sure, which is really fucking dumb to begin with, to be real, because if you went back and watched old women's wrestling, there was some dumb shit in that too, but you don't see fucking women back then going and killing themselves, because I heard some shit from fucking marks who have had no idea what it's like to be in the wrestling business to begin with, mind you, and not even saying I do. I have no idea what it's like behind the curtain in a locker room at all.
You got dark side of the ring to prove that.
Well, that's true, but I mean, I give it more of appreciation than most people, because it's yeah, like I said, there is some women's wrestling out there. I can look at it and I'm just not into it, because I'm just I don't appreciate it like maybe some other people do, but I ain't gonna shit on it because I still can't do what those fucking chicks do that anyways. Half of the chicks that are in women's pro wrestling, I can't do half of that shit anyways.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Unrelated. To wrap things up with the news, Elon Musk and Grimes changed their baby's name. I don't know if you heard about their baby's name. It was
To begin with,
it
I
was
don't
the
think
talk
so.
of the town for like a day or two.
As long as it's something not like Northwest, like Kanye West and fucking Kim Kardashian's baby, I'm like, go ahead, Elon.
You might have spoken too soon.
Oh, damn it. What did he do? Elon, did you let me down? Are you actually not of this earth?
So here's the name.
Okay, well.
It's, can you see? I kind of got the cursor
name
under it.
is
It's
to-
XAE, if you could call it that, an AE.
Is that supposed to be a reference
And then
to fucking
A12.
Albert Einstein?
What's funny is you say that, and that was the same impression it gave me when I read it.
Yeah, because
but
that's what I'm
no,
seeing, no?
no. But I mean, kinda, but not really. But yeah, X, whatever that is.
AE smushed together. What the fuck does
So
that
that was the
mean?
original one. So XAE A12, right?
Yeah.
And then there was a big thing because they live in California. So there was a big thing, or at least the child was born in California. There was a big thing of the state of California, saying that the name wouldn't be acceptable because of the numbers. So they changed it.
But they have Roman numerals for people who are like.
No, but that's what they changed it to. Before it was just A-12. Now they changed it to the Roman numerals for 12.
Oh my god.
A-Roman numerals for 12. The meaning behind the name goes X equals unknown variable.
Okay.
The AE shenanigans is actually the Elven spelling of AI, which is both.
Did they get that from fucking Lord of the Rings or something?
Which is both, I don't know, dude. Which is both artificial intelligence and the literal word for love. I'm guessing it means love in Elvish language.
They had to get it from fucking Lord of the Rings. I guarantee it.
And A12
or the Hobbit.
And A12 is a reference to their favorite aircraft, the A12, precursor to the SR-17.
Good luck explaining that to your fucking
So, people have asked, how is the name pronounced? And it actually depends on which parent you ask.
Oh, God. I can only imagine it's probably said more right probably by the mother than Elon.
Elon says it's pronounced as Ash. And she
Ash?
says, yeah, as Ash.
Okay.
And she says that it's pronounced as AI.
Come here, AI. Come here. Come here, AI. That just doesn't roll off the fucking tongue, if you're asking me. No. Go with Ash. I think Elon's got something going with Ash. Because you spell that out, and somebody's going to be like, oh, how do you say that?
Oh, excuse me. Not AI. I'm sorry. She pronounces it as Zai.
Oh, okay, that's better.
Or I. The X being silent. But she said it's all over the place. She said he has many names. And it's like, well, what the fuck was the point of giving him a goddamn name?
So they could just do that and say he has many names because he's going to be the next god. I don't know. I mean, his dad is fucking making goddamn spaceships and electric cars, and his mom's a fucking DJ or electric music artist. You know what I mean? Like, what a weird ass pairing that is.
Yeah, so Musk says it's pronounced as X-Ash Archangel.
Like I said, the next god.
Yeah, so it's either Zai, AI, or Ash Musk.
Ash Musk.
A12. Ash
You got an ashy Musk there, I tell you what.
Ash A12 Musk. A12 is the boy's middle name, dude. Like, what is going on? Or it's part of the first name. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. Oh, but are you really surprised? It doesn't make a fuck ton of sense, but it makes sense to them.
Yeah.
I think that's all that matters.
That's
But
all that
again,
matters.
good luck explaining that to your fucking kid when they get of age. And expecting them to just be like, no, yeah, I understand. Yeah, that makes sense.
Are you kidding me? That's going to be the fucking product of Grimes and Elon Musk. That kid is going to wear that name with pride.
And he's going to command the stars. Just watch.
Yeah. And he will save us all.
From Satan.
He's our savior.
From Satan, which is Donald Trump.
So yeah, that wraps up WRAT unrelated news. And now, BJ, if you would like to please share your lucid dreams.
I will. So, I had this dream. This is when I was going through not being able to smoke weed, and I was on diversion, which was really, really fucking weird. So I assume now if I stop smoking weed again, I'm gonna start having some really lucid dreams. But this was in that span, and the dream starts off like I would say like a Scooby-Doo adventure where like you go and you see this fucking weird ass haunted house, like, you know, creepy, whatever, lightning in the back, bats are flying out of the fucking house kind of deal. And for whatever reason in the dream, I'm with me, my girlfriend, and her child. For whatever reason, I have no idea why, really. And we go up to this house, and there happens to be a family that lives there, randomly, of course. And as far as I could gather and what I remember, it was like a bunch of daughters and like an aunt or two, and then a grandpa.
Okay.
And you don't meet the dad until like the very end of my dream. It's weird as shit. So we're going in this house, and just imagine like a foster home for imaginary friends, where like the room, there's like a fuck ton of rooms, and everyone's fucking, you know, different and weird.
Yeah.
So I get separated from my girlfriend and her kid, and I'm off somewhere in wherever in this fucking house. I have no clue where the fuck I'm at. Mm-hmm. And we're just playing in this room, and then all of a sudden the kids get all fucking like terrified. They're like, be quiet. They like duck behind like a wall where the window is, and then like for whatever reason I can see out the window, and then it's a dude with a shotgun coming into the house, and
shit.
And then all I hear is, Dad's home. And I'm like,
no.
Okay, all right. And then they're like, they're like,
I knew this day would come.
They're like, oh no, go through this tunnel, and this random portal opens up in the middle of the fucking wall for whatever reason.
Oh shit!
And
Panic room.
Right, and I start climbing through it. Then it cuts to everybody in the living room, including me and my girlfriend and their child, sitting around watching TV. Mm-hmm. And it's just normal, whatever, sitting in the living room. They're apparently having dinner started, and the only way I can describe it is it's a cat that reminds me of the Alice in Wonderland cat.
So it looked like the Cheshire cat?
Yes, but it also looked like Garfield at the same time.
Oh, cool.
So it was weird. But the only people that could hear it were me and my girlfriend and her kid. And all he said was, like, kind of being a cat, like messing with his tail, cleaning himself, and he's like, don't eat the food. Don't eat the food. And I'm like,
oh shit.
I'm like, what? What the fuck? No. And at this point in the dream, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I am tripping fucking balls right now. What the fuck is going on? Because like even panning back into the living room, seeing everybody, it was like when I went through the portal, you know how like in the TV shows it'll like pan out and then it'll like, oh look from the TV's point of view, and then that's what it felt like.
Okay.
And then so then after we see that random weird cat, then of course dinner's ready. And this is where it gets fucking weird. So dinner gets ready, and then everybody's got a fucking plate and everything, and you know, we knowing what the cat fucking said, we just get the plate and we just don't eat it.
No.
And nobody's eaten yet, and then all of a sudden the grandpa that's been sitting at the table the whole time waiting to eat, he's like, I don't give a fuck, I'm ready. And then he eats the food, and then randomly he starts sprouting like what I would imagine to be bird wings coming out of his shoulders, and
dear Lord.
And he manifests himself a fucking beak in front of his face.
Oh, dude, you didn't say this was nightmarish. You just said it was a lucid dream.
Hey, this is a lucid dream.
Yeah.
But the bird things really have nothing to do with it. They just happen randomly in this story. So
yeah,
that happens, and then he keels over dead, and he throws up what looks to be grass, and then he dies. So and then as it goes on, anybody who eats the food, this happened to them. So almost everybody's dead besides me and my girlfriend, my kid. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna get the fuck out of here then. So we run to where the kitchen's at, and before we go through the back door, the dad finally shows up. and it's a weird thing of he's at the entryway to the kitchen, and he's like, don't, just like it has the shotgun, and he's looking at us with a menacing look, and I'm like, So I don't know where it goes to where I'm hanging on the door frame of where he's standing, and I'm swinging on it to just kick him right in the chest, and then we get out of the house, and then that's it.
Wow.
Oh wait, no, sorry, I forgot a part. I kick him in the chest, and then for some reason I have a knife, and then I stab him to death, and then we leave the house.
You had to finish the job.
Yeah, and then that was it, and I was like, and I woke up after that, and it wasn't terrifying, but it was just like,
what was that?
I don't know. I don't know what the fuck that was, because I have another one where I thought I was smoking weed with the Game Grumps, Dan and Aaron. I thought I was smoking with them in where we work. And I'm sitting there the whole time getting fried off of my ass, but at the same time, because this is when I'm on diversion, I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is cool and shit, but I'm fucked. I'm so fucked. I'm not gonna pass my fucking drug test. I'm fucked. But this is cool as shit. I'm hanging out with fucking the Game Grumps, but I'm fucked.
Right.
And then I woke up and I was like, oh wait, I haven't smoked pot. But it felt so fucking real, because it felt like I was taking dab hits and shit in this dream, and I was like,
damn, dude, you were blazed. You were toasted.
I was blazed in my dream, and then I woke up sober. That's bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's torture. But yeah, that's my lucid dream.
Well, shit. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
I just take it as it's a nice story to tell people now.
Yeah, and I mean the weed smoking one was pretty good.
The weed smoking one just made me panic, honestly, because when I woke up, at first I was like, I had to question myself. I was like, did I fucking smoke? I didn't smoke. Did I? Did I really fucking smoke? No, I didn't fucking smoke. But damn, it felt like I did.
Yeah, so I think that'll do it for this entry. And if you have any questions, compliments, complaints, any art or stories or anything you would like to share, please, we are always up to it and look forward to it.
And we're probably going to be making a Twitter, because we need to. Definitely need to.
If you have any of that, then you can send it to us at won'trememberathingpodcast@gmail.com. That is won'trememberathingpodcast@gmail.com. Don't you dare put an apostrophe in won't, or you will piss me off. And yeah, with that, we love you, and we'd say thanks for listening, but you probably won't remember a thing.